The boy finally passed the tower defense game after 2.5 years, and he couldn't help but scream excitedly in the live broadcast room. These viewers didn't expect that there would actually be someone who could pass this game. It turns out that this is a classic game known for its extreme difficulty. Today, 10 years after the release of Guardian Empire, the first player to pass it has finally emerged. I have told everyone before, no matter how difficult a game is, it exists to be conquered. The boy is a streamer who only plays high-difficulty classic games. After successfully completing the game, he also received many gifts from fans. But what made him even happier than those was the joy of successfully completing the game as a professional gamer. However, not everything is perfect. During the days of playing strategy games, the audience may have developed feelings for the characters in the game. They hope that all characters will survive during the final battle. But the ending is that everyone except the protagonist Lucas died. But after all, the boy's goal is not to ensure everyone survives, but to end the game. The ultimate boss ends with the sleepless princess of the lake concluding the game. Lucas still stood in that place. He stood in front of the enemy tower he had toppled, standing bewildered on a pile of allied and enemy corpses stacked like a mountain. The boy didn't know why. Clearly, he was just a game character. But Lucas's back looked a little lonely. As the credits rolled, marking the end, the perseverance of the past 2.5 years finally had a conclusion. But a sense of inexplicable loss surged in the boy's heart. At this moment, he saw a bullet comment on the screen. Shouldn't the game developer be given some kind of award? This game was controversial before because of its high difficulty. In the end, it even sparked countless players' criticisms. It's not necessary to receive any awards. As long as we had a great time playing together during this period, that's all that matters. After all, the official website of this game has been gone for so long, and there hasn't been a new release in the past 10 years. So it's impossible to contact the developer. The most important thing now is to maintain these fans. But just at this moment, the director of Guardian Empire game took the initiative to contact the boy. At that moment, the boy couldn't help but widen his eyes. Because of the appearance of this news, the bullet comments instantly exploded. This self-proclaimed game director. He expressed thanks to the boy as soon as he came up. But the following words he said left the boy a little confused. There is still hope for us. This is truly fortunate. You have proven your qualifications and abilities. Please come here to help us. After a brief consideration, the boy decided that this might be a prank by some boring person. Just as he was about to kick the director out of the live broadcast room, a strong dizziness swept over him. He guessed that he might have played games for too long and went into shock. But he believed that his audience would call for help to rescue him. At the moment he collapsed, the on-screen announcement of Guardian Empire finally came to an end. When he opened his eyes again, a large amount of magic unexpectedly appeared around him. He suddenly scrambled up from the ground. But this was no longer the room he was familiar with. The boy has cleared the most difficult tower defense game in history. But he was transported to a completely unfamiliar environment. He was curious about what the voice he just heard was. The next second, he saw a huge rock flying towards him. Just waking up, he was frightened by the scene in front of him. He could do nothing but hold his head and lie on the ground. After calming down, he began to analyze the current situation. War prevails here. The smell of gunpowder permeates the air. Just then, the soldier beside him fired the cannon. The boy who had just managed to calm down stood still in place again. The next second, another loud noise came from beside him. Damn it! You people are almost there. But he was soon startled by the scene before his eyes. Countless neatly dressed soldiers stood before him. They seemed to be resisting something outside the city walls. He realized this might not be a prank by someone. But he was still very curious. What exactly is going on now? He watched the busy figures of the soldiers on the city wall. He realized that he might be in the middle of a war. Just then, the soldier beside him noticed him. He ran towards the boy, calling out, "Is Royal Highness the Prince?" as he approached. "Is your Royal Highness the Prince okay?" The boy instinctively thought that the enemy soldiers had attacked the city wall. He was scared by the soldier in front of him holding a sword, and kept stepping back. But at this moment, the soldier took the initiative to kneel down. "Please spare the life of this humble person. His Royal Highness the Prince." The boy was very curious. Why did the uncle suddenly act like this? "Sir, why don't you calm down first?" But before he could finish his sentence, a powerful magic beam flew straight towards him. Luckily, he was not directly hit by the attack. He was curious. Was the one just now some sort of new bomb? He quickly noticed that the area hit was burning with green flames. "It's over here. The assault trooper is coming up." The boy quickly looked towards where the sound was coming from. "Block them, you must block them. Can't let them come up." But the next second, the soldier standing at the edge of the city wall was pierced through the body. The boy was seeing such a horrific scene at such a close distance for the first time. But it didn't end there. More and more soldiers were falling in front of him. He couldn't help but be curious. What exactly was behind that wall? However, his curiosity was quickly satisfied, because a huge spider had already climbed up the city wall and stood in front of him. The next second, the spider roared at the boy. The boy had not expected the soldiers to be fighting against such monsters. "Assault trooper is coming up. Quickly block it, and don't let it move." But in front of this spider, the soldiers have no power to fight back at all. The boy also couldn't move because of fear, and could only watch helplessly as the monster crawled towards him step by step. Just as the spider's sharp claws were about to strike the boy, a golden-haired knight appeared in front of him. With just one sword, he easily killed the spider in front of him. "His Royal Highness the Prince, you actually want to deny the facts. Your reaction is too cliché, isn't it?" But the boy obviously hasn't recovered from his fear just now. "Your Royal Highness the Prince, what has happened to you? Have you been injured?" The boy always felt somewhat familiar with the man in front of him. He suddenly remembered the game character who had accompanied him for 2.5 years. "Are you Lucas?" The moment he heard this, the man's eyes became moist. "Sure enough, His Royal Highness the Prince, you have indeed hurt your head. But I am still very happy, because you finally called my name. You have been my lifelong guard knight, but you haven't remembered me. But if the man in front of me is really Lucas, the world the boy is in now. This is the world in the game Guardian Empire. The boy travels to a game he has already cleared. But he couldn't be happy at all, because of this game. It is about desperately holding back the surging monsters. The most difficult tower defense game in history. He doesn't understand why he entered the game world. Please calm down, Your Royal Highness the Prince. The army of black spiders is now surging towards us, although the front line is about to fall. But the enemy won't come out after sunset. It's probably about 30 minutes before the sun sets. Regardless, please make sure His Royal Highness the Prince holds on until that time. The boy does not know why Lucas wants to protect himself. He is also curious why everyone calls him His Royal Highness the Prince. He wonders who he really is now. After a long wait, the sun finally set. The soldiers began to clean up the battlefield after the monsters retreated. The sunset has begun. The Dark Spider Legion is also retreating. Your Royal Highness the Prince, would you like to rest first? However, the boy remained silent, staring at the pile of dark spider corpses under the city wall. Tomorrow, those monsters will still step on their comrades' bodies and come rushing here. What time is it now, Lucas? Where are we? Today is the last day of February in the 649th year of the Empire's calendar. This is a fortress city. Crossroads frontline outpost. So, tomorrow will be the 1st of March 649. And on this day, for the past 2.5 years, the boy has played through countless tutorials in time and place. This also means that the boy is the third prince of this empire. Ethan. That's right, Your Highness. Why do you always speak such strange words? It turns out that the Empire's third prince is a famous madman. Most of the Fortress City's forces were wiped out because of him. And most importantly, Ethan will face the most tragic ending in the tutorial. This game is known as the most difficult tower defense game because it features the highest difficulty level of Hell, as well as an Iron Man mode where saving progress is disabled. The only Ethan who has passed the Hell Iron Man mode is confident in beating all levels. But except for the time and place of this tutorial, because this scenario is absolutely unbeatable. The tutorial set in the game is doomed to fail, because the story begins with Lucas escaping alone from a monster attack. This game will last for 3 years in total. The Black Spider Legion can only be hunted in the mid to late stage of the second year. But if such monsters are faced right from the start, even with experience in clearing the game and knowledge of all hidden tricks, Ethan still can't think of a way to pass through the tutorial. And the level of these spiders is not only outrageously high, and the only thing Ethan can use is a sacred relic, the ancient mana cannon SR. But the more critical the situation, the more Ethan must force himself to calm down. As a professional gamer, Ethan knows clearly that there are always tricks and a way out in any situation. What he needs to find is a slightly higher probability and a slightly better method. Finally, Ethan found the only hope to survive. The strongest player beat Hell Ironman mode. He encountered an absolutely unbeatable beginner's tutorial in the game world. The enemies are not only at a high level of 55, but there are also over 1,000 of them. However, Ethan can only use an SR mana cannon. After some thinking, he found the only opportunity for him to clear the level. Ethan immediately came to the door to look for Lucas' figure. Can you immediately go help me gather my direct team? Are you talking about Your Highness's personal guards? You have never called for this before. Why all of a sudden? No more nonsense. Quickly get them here for me, because I have thought of a way to turn the situation around. Soon these people gathered in the command room. In addition to Lucas, Ethan's personal guard team has 3 other members. These people are all familiar faces to Ethan. Lily, a fire elemental mage with incredibly high firepower. A fierce and menacing knight Kyle. And there is Dennis, a priest wearing glasses. Ethan is already in the beginner's tutorial. I have seen countless times the scenes of their deaths. Speaking of which, why is he crouching there differently from the other 3? Dennis has been crouching in the corner crying. Dennis is like this because he lost his teammate today. Please understand. Actually, Dennis has always been in an abnormal state in the game tutorial, so he often dies before he can make an impact. From now on, I will explain the tasks that everyone will need to carry out in tomorrow's battle. First, Lily, who serves as the main damage dealer of the team, will act as the primary tank, shielding the group from the attacks of the spiders. Your Highness, I am a mage. Next is the shield knight, Kyle. He attracts enemy attention through broad area taunts. A tank that blocks attacks with his body. But his mission is to infiltrate the enemy camp and disrupt the enemy. Finally, there is healer Dennis. From now on, he will serve as the team sniper. Lucas will need to command the remaining soldiers to maintain the front line. After hearing Ethan's assignment, everyone fell silent. Damn it. Can you call that a battle plan? We are now in a desperate situation because of your mistaken command. And now you dare to say such words. Now you are facing the Emperor's son, who is also the overall commander on this front line. I'll ask you again. Kyle, are you going to disobey my orders? After all, Ethan has always been seen as a madman in everyone's eyes. And if you want to pass the level, you must not fight in a normal way. In the eyes of the crowd, Ethan's combat plan is unusual and reckless. So Ethan must now make them follow him without daring to make a sound. Just then, Ethan suddenly thrust a knife into Lily's body. I believe everyone has the ability to complete the task. Isn't it? Time brought everyone to a standstill. In the eyes of the crowd, mage is a very important combat force. So hurting Ethan, who is a mage, before the battle cannot convince everyone at all. Lily suddenly burst into flames. Everyone was temporarily clueless about what was happening. It turns out all the tutorial characters have unique hidden traits, and their effects are just the opposite of what they are intended for. Lily, you were cut by a knife when you were a child, right? It's the goblin horde that attacked the village. After that incident, you gained the trait Spark Skin. As long as you have enough mana, you can avoid all physical attacks. You are right, Lily. The third prince of the Empire is the worst commander in history. He not only assigned the tank role to the mage with powerful firepower, he also wants the bulky shield knight to quietly infiltrate behind enemy lines. Even the priest wearing glasses is forced to serve as a sniper. It turns out Lily has the Spark Skin attribute. As long as the mage is strong enough, they can be immune to physical attacks. Although this is a useless existence in the game. But this is reality. As long as you can survive and use these abilities, there might be hope for clearing the level. I'm sorry, Lily. Just now I used a very brutal way to prove it. Next it's your turn, Kyle. You were a little rascal when you were a kid, right? You were born into a poor family and had to support many family members. It must have been quite difficult for you to rise to the position of a knight. Kyle doesn't know why Ethan knows so much about his past. The important thing is not why I know, but what you can do in battle. So Kyle's trait turns out to be the survival rule of a little scoundrel. As long as his health points are sufficient, he can instantly escape from others' sight. As long as you want, you can become invisible. That means you can hide from others' sight. Do you choose to answer me, or do you want me to prove it again? No need. There's no need to prove such things. I can do it. Then there's only Dennis left. And Dennis is the most important part of this battle plan. Your vision must be really good. That's why you can see every detail of your friend's death. Ben is a friend from my hometown. He and I are from the same orphanage. But he saved me in battle. Why did he bring us here? What is His Royal Highness the Prince's intention? Do you have any noble goals? Or feel like we're just lowly lives meant to entertain those in power? Please return my friend to me. Perhaps Ben is just an insignificant soldier in your eyes. But he grew up with me and is my best friend. Ethan did not argue, but only placed his hand on Dennis' shoulder. Blame me if you have to, Dennis. Hatred me if necessary. Your friend lost his life trying to save you. Are you just going to sit around and wait for death, doing nothing? Are you going to give up the hope your friend sacrificed his life for, just because of this trashy commander in front of you? You should struggle. You should seek revenge with me. You should eliminate the spiders here and get out alive. It's only right for me to suffer a bit, isn't it? Dennis, you tell me. Do you want to eliminate that group of spiders? Do you want to eliminate me, the commander who made you lose your friend? Dennis remained silent for a moment. He gave a positive answer. In the eyes of the crowd, this is a heinous act. I promise you, as long as you can get out alive, no matter when, I will definitely die by your hands. Upon hearing this, Lucas still wanted to step forward to stop it, but he was stopped by Ethan. If the operation fails, we will all die. However, when that time comes, I will leave this life to you. This is a promise made in the name of the royal family. Therefore, even if it's just for one day tomorrow, carry out my orders. Ethan is very clear. When people lose hope to live, resentment can become a motivation. Even if Dennis' target of hatred is himself, in order to grasp the hope of survival. Ethan spared no effort to make promises using the honor of the royal family. I leave my life to be disposed of by Dennis. I will not justify myself, because of my fatal mistake in judgment. So my army is now in a crisis of total annihilation. But if we act according to my plan, we can drive away that group of spiders. Even if the hope is very slim, we still have a chance of winning. So just this once. Are you willing to believe in me and follow me? At this moment, even though the commander in front of them is the infamous third prince, everyone's expressions remain resolute. Time quickly came to the second day. The monsters became active again. The spider army is here. The monsters are pouring in. Is this really okay? Don't worry. Just follow my orders. The operation plan this time is very simple. It's just to buy time while the team members are working on it. We need to find the spider queen that gives them orders. Then use this mana cannon to blow up the queen's head. After removing the suppression device, Ethan forcibly increased its mana. Even if the other party is the queen, he will definitely be able to subdue her successfully. The only problem is that the queen's location is usually in a place that is not visible to the naked eye. Fortunately, Ethan has a skill: drawing maps. This skill can scan the area within a certain range. The area will appear in front of the user in the form of a small map. When Ethan first saw this ability value, he was taken aback. But fortunately, the remaining skill is very powerful. But Ethan quickly discovered that there was no mark on the map for the appearance of the boss monster. This means that the Spider Queen is still very far away from here. Meanwhile, Kyle has already prepared to leave the city alone. Although when he left, Ethan had given him all the stamina potions in the fortress, Kyle was still unsure if he would come back alive. Lily's task was to block the path with Spark's skin when the spiders attacked the battery. Although Lily was trembling with fear, she still encouraged herself. I can definitely do it. At the same time, Lucas had already stood on the wall of the fortress. Under his command, all the soldiers were fully prepared. Everyone must hold on. We need to delay the time. Until we repel the queen, Your Highness. Ethan is seen appearing on the battlements. He thought they were already prepared over there. Lucas immediately ordered to fire at the monster in front of him. In an instant, shells and crossbow bolts rained down on the group of spiders. Lucas signaled Ethan that everything was going smoothly. But he didn't know. At this moment, Ethan's face looked very ugly. But as the commander, he must calm down to stabilize the morale of the army. Besides, the goal of the tutorial is not to defeat the boss. So it's not surprising that there are no markers appearing. Even if this is a total attack by the monsters, there will definitely be reserve teams in the rear to guard against unexpected situations. And the position of the Spider Queen will definitely appear there. Where is the position of Dennis' boss? Can you see it? You want to know the location of Ethan's finger. It's a place where even the enemy's shadow is absent. I see. It seems to be a group of spiders standing still. There must be a queen spider among them. Can you find it? Is the queen you mentioned a monster with the upper body of a human and the lower body of a spider? A battle with a vast difference in both level and quantity. A healer who wears glasses but is responsible for long-range sniping. It all sounds so ridiculous. But they are already the only hope for these people. The direction of rotation of the cannon is southwest by south. The precise angle is up to me and Dennis. Mana has been replenished. You can fire at any time. Dennis, catch it. It's up to you to aim at the queen's head. His Royal Highness the Prince, I have no confidence. I have never done such a thing. You suddenly made me take on this role. Even if you make a mistake, it's okay. I will take full responsibility. Even if you fail, everything is ruined. It's okay. I'll take full responsibility. Just pull the trigger. Just do that. This way you can avenge half of your friend's vendetta. Upon hearing that he could avenge his friend, Dennis pulled the trigger without hesitation. A powerful force surged out of the muzzle and flew straight towards the distant plane. Accompanied by a mushroom cloud slowly rising, a loud sound reached everyone's ears. How was it? Did the cannonball hit the target? Hit. We precisely attacked the monsters right in the middle. For a moment, countless veteran soldiers surrounded Dennis. Even in such a crisis situation, they didn't hesitate to praise themselves. Dennis's ability turns out to be clairvoyance. He can see what he wants to see and hit what he wants to hit. Originally, he was a character in the game who couldn't even equip weapons. But now, he is showing great power on the battlefield. At that moment, Ethan felt proud of his plan. But he quickly realized that the spider's attacks had not stopped. In theory, if the queen is killed, the spiders should retreat. Ethan immediately picked up the binoculars to check the situation. The previous cannon shell did indeed hit the queen accurately. The spider in front of the queen bore too much damage. After being attacked, the queen let out an angry roar. In an instant, all the spider groups rushed towards the direction of the cannon. The scene shifts to the forest outside the fortress. Kyle only has one bottle of potion left with him. He can only hide behind a tree and pray that the spider doesn't find him. After the queen's order, all the spiders turned around. Now is Kyle's only chance to escape. He is hesitating whether to seize this opportunity. Meanwhile, Dennis has already fired the second cannonball. Although this time, they also hit the spider queen accurately. But those spiders still didn't stop moving. This means the queen is still alive. If it's the spider queen in the game scene, she should be hunted down with just 1 or 2 shots of an artifact. However, in the beginner's tutorial, Ethan knows nothing about her. Moreover, the removal of the suppression device has a significant impact on the cannon's barrel. The number of times it can be used will also be much fewer than expected. According to the current situation, the mana cannon can be used at most 3 times. This means they must use 3 cannonballs to defeat the queen. Otherwise, death awaits them. But now the side effects of Dennis's eyes are beginning to appear. Ethan doesn't know. Dennis can still hold on until then. The spider queen that could be easily defeated with 1 shot in the game. Now, after 2 shots, she remains unscathed. Now, the mana cannon can only be used up to 3 times at most. The side effects of Dennis's eyes are starting to appear. The only good news now is that the central city wall can still hold up. But at this moment, the siege troops of the Spider Legion arrived. And there was a scene never seen before in the game. All the spiders began to use their bodies to strike the city wall. Definitely need to stop them. Concentrate all firepower on the attacking spiders at the city wall. Even if all the shells were fired at the attacking soldiers, it still managed to reach the front of the city wall smoothly at last. That's it. The city wall collapsed. The attacking spiders opened up a path for their comrades with their bodies. The spider army surged in like a tide. As a veteran gamer, Ethan has never seen such a siege method before. Everyone pick up your weapons. We are going to the first floor to provide support. With Lucas's help, Ethan quickly calmed down. Our mission is to continue firing at the queen. We must eliminate the queen before those guys reach the cannon platform. That's it. After mana is loaded, Dennis fired the 3rd cannon. Due to the side effects of clairvoyance, his eyes were already bloodshot. Although this also hit the queen, she is still alive. Do not hesitate. Load the next shell immediately. At the same time, Lucas has already arrived at the front line of the war. With his strength, he can easily deal with these spiders. Everyone listen up. Swear to defend the artillery to the death. Protect His Royal Highness the Prince. Even with Lucas's help, the spiders won't directly reach the artillery. But Ethan is very clear. This situation won't last long. Although this scenario has appeared many times in the game. But now, every time the number jumps, this means a vibrant life is fading away before him. The companions' grieving cries and the lingering smell of blood in the air continue to dampen their morale. Moreover, the mana cannon is also malfunctioning. Soldiers are using their bodies to help cool it down. There are not many soldiers left by Lucas's side now. Currently, Ethan can't think of any way to turn the situation around. You damn monsters. I'm here. Look at me! Ethan quickly noticed Kyle among the group of monsters. At this point, he had already finished the last bottle of blood medicine. Listen to me carefully. I am a knight of the Empire. Kyle. Almost in an instant, all the monsters rushed towards Kyle. This terrifying scene made his scalp tingle for a moment. Yes. You damn guys. Come and chase me quickly. Kyle saw a rock in front of him. As long as he gets there, he can use his abilities. Please just carefully search and figure out where I am. As soon as the words fell, Kyle activated the survival rule of the little rogue. Wait a minute, Kyle. Your remaining stamina. Now Kyle, who can no longer activate his abilities, has been surrounded by spiders. Damn it. I knew I shouldn't have trusted you. That's it. Kyle was cruelly torn into pieces by the monster. Even though Ethan was far away on the gun tower, he could hear the horrible sound of tearing very clearly. Due to Ethan's command mistake, a precious life came to an end. Kyle pulled our defense line back. No one is allowed to retreat. Men are the knights of the Empire. He is the least courageous man, even though it is his unique trait. But he actively gave up the chance to escape. At the moment when the monster swarmed into the fortress, he came back. Listen to me carefully. I am a knight of the Empire. Kyle. He used his own life to pull the defense line away for the soldiers. All the soldiers here lost their lives because of a word from Ethan. When he was playing this game before, he often used friendly forces as bait based on the situation. Because this damn game is designed that way. If you want to save someone, obtain a certain item, complete a side task, or achieve a certain goal, you must sacrifice some lives. At the time, Ethan never had any doubts about these things. But now he understands the significance of the things he did before. He also understands that all deaths are painful. The damn monster. I told you to stop. But these monsters did not stop. Shouting alone is not enough to make the monster stop. Just then, a sharp sword struck the monster's body directly. How dare you be so bold? You dare to covet your highness. Your highness, are you all right? The monster just now didn't hurt you, did it? Watching the tottering monster, Ethan understood one thing. There is only one way to make the monster stop. That is to completely eliminate it before everyone falls down. Your highness, the fourth shell has been loaded. However, the cannon barrel can no longer. Dennis, can you still fire the cannon? I still can. Your highness, at this moment, blood has already flowed down from the corner of Dennis's eyes. But he still launched the cannonball without hesitation. Due to Dennis's clairvoyant ability, the cannonball flew straight towards the queen. Seeing this situation, countless spiders rushed towards the cannonball. They attempted to use their lives to shield the queen from this attack. Fortunately, in the end, the cannonball hit the queen's head accurately. But the damn spider queen. She is still alive. As the queen's roar echoed over to the artillery position, the soldiers seemed to have been drained of strength, sitting helplessly on the ground. The fact proved that their efforts were totally ineffective against the queen. The cannon barrel has reached its limit. Firing the cannon one more time will cause it to explode. Anyway, we are already at a dead end. We might as well give up. Although Ethan doesn't want to admit it, the fact is right in front of us. The cannon barrel is nearly damaged. The defense line has also been completely breached. Even the gunners are unable to open their eyes. Everything should be over. There is truly no hope left. It's not over yet. Our recent attack was absolutely effective. The queen's skin has completely peeled off. Ethan didn't expect it. The scout is still holding his position in this situation. Just one more mortar shell. Unfortunately, the scout didn't finish what he was about to say. The artillery position was destroyed by the enemy's attack. Watching this scene, Lucas was almost driven to madness. As the turret collapsed, Ethan knew everything was ending. But in a daze, a figure appeared before him. When the turret collapsed, Lucas helped Ethan block the falling boulders. The barrel of the cannon is almost destroyed. The defense line has completely collapsed. Even the gunner couldn't open his eyes. But in this situation, the scout found hope. The exoskeleton of the Spider Queen has already molted. But the subsequent attacks completely destroyed the turret. When everything seemed to be falling into the abyss with Ethan, Lucas blocked the boulders behind him for Ethan. Your Highness, are you not injured? This should be my question to you. Your Highness, do you remember? That was almost 20 years ago. But Ethan doesn't remember, because he is just a game player who has possessed this body. What you said to me when you first dubbed me as a guardian. Although I cannot become the emperor, I will definitely become the most handsome man in the world. So as my guardian, you must also become the most handsome knight in the world. Even though I was just a child at that time, your words deeply touched my heart. I still remember them until now. So I believe you. Things have turned out this way. Will you still believe me? Whenever. But the conversation wasn't finished. Lucas was trapped under the rubble. After some effort, Ethan rescued Lucas. He is well aware that Lucas is the protagonist of this world. He will bring redemption to this world. So he must not fall here. But for now, it is more important to control the situation on the battlefield. After searching for a while, he found the soldiers and the mana cannon. Although these people all fainted, fortunately, none of them suffered fatal injuries. However, Ethan is very curious. Why is he still alive? Where did those spiders go? Your Highness, I finally waited for you. I blocked all these spiders for you. We haven't lost yet, right? Ethan just tried to go over, but was stopped by Lily. I can't hold on for much longer, but I can temporarily block the entrance. The attacking spiders will soon break through the wall and flood in. We don't have much time left. Please speed up. At least don't let us die in vain. Ethan can only grit his teeth at the moment and prevent the tears from flowing out. Artillery. What are you still waiting for? Load the last shell. But Your Highness, I have already told you before. The durability of the cannon has already exceeded the critical point. It will explode the moment it is fired. Anyway, if we continue like this, we will be pierced by the spider's claws. It's better to fight to the death than to sit and wait for death. How do you plan to aim? We can't see at all. And there's no view to aim at the queen. The cannon's mount is also completely smashed. The cannon can be carried by hand. We don't need to aim. Just have Dennis fire the cannonball. Quickly go and load the final cannonball. This is an order. Although Ethan does not understand the principle of clairvoyance, now he has no choice but to believe in it. Dennis, this is the last chance. Just launch one more time. Please try one more time. His Royal Highness the Prince, what is the meaning of us doing this? Anyway, no matter what I do, the results will not change. Just one more hit from you, and that monster will be eliminated. I'm not talking about that. Even if I pull the trigger again and destroy the Spider Queen, what difference will it make? As a mage, Lily blocked all the spiders for the survivors. She built a towering wall of hope with her own body. But Ethan didn't expect it at this critical moment. Dennis's belief completely collapsed. He doesn't know the meaning of everything he has done. My friend is no longer there. No matter how I avenge, he will not come back. No matter how hard I try, the world will only take everything away from me. I don't want to continue. I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to be by Ben's side. Dennis, do you think this world is unreasonable? Even if you fight desperately to get through the crisis in front of you, do you still feel that living is a very painful thing? Don't be silly. This is just a matter of course. If this world has difficulty levels, then it must be at the hell level. Here is full of unreasonable and outrageous things. Nothing develops according to our wishes. But this is the world. Do you think everyone doesn't know? We live in such a desolate environment. Just because of this, do we have to give up attacking? You choose to give up and leave beautifully. Take a good look around you. We must attack until the end of our lives. I will continue to fight. I will keep thinking and struggling until the last moment of life. If you want to let go and leave, then use this sword now to resolve it yourself. But if you are a coward without the courage to end it yourself, then be my trigger. Stop looking for friends who are no longer here. The person who can get you moving. Having your master is enough. Stop giving yourself more meaning in life. You are the cannon in my chess game. The gun in my hand. My trigger. That's enough. At this moment, Ethan awakened his passive skill, the Indomitable Commander. This is an order. My trigger. Go grab that damn cannon. Blow up those damn monsters. His Royal Highness the Prince will obey your command. The last cannonball has been loaded, but there is no way to let the barrel cool down now. If it can't cool down, then don't cool it down. I'll lift it. The cannon is extremely hot to the touch. If you come into direct contact with it, it will definitely not be a regular burn. Compared to going to hell after death, it's better to be alive and burned. Dennis, are you ready? His Royal Highness the Prince, I can't see ahead. It doesn't matter. My hand is numb. It doesn't matter. I will lift the cannon for you. All you have to do is pull the trigger. Go quickly and help your Highness. People who survived like this lifted up the burning hope. But at this moment, the spider attacking the city broke through the city wall. Dennis! Pull down this damn trigger for me. With everyone's efforts, the final hope was launched. The shell flew straight towards the distance. At this moment, the spiders have surrounded the survivors. But all they can do now is pray. After all, this is something that is fundamentally impossible to accomplish. Firing shells at invisible enemies under the collapsing battery. However, the shells accurately hit the Spider Queen. Ignoring height. Ignoring distance. Ignoring the countless monsters blocking the view. It's as if the predetermined outcome is replaying. The shell hit the Spider Queen's forehead precisely. It cleanly took off her head. With the efforts of everyone, the last shell successfully hit the Spider Queen's head. In his dying moments, Ethan remembered his very first fan. You are amazing, bro. How did you pass the level? His mind is now a blur. He can't remember how he responded to him at that time. The next second, a sharp pain brought Ethan's consciousness back to reality. His Royal Highness the Prince, you should take a period of rest first. Although Dennis has used magic to treat you, your burns are very severe, so it will take a long time to fully recover. You have been sleeping for 3 days and 3 nights. I thought you would never wake up. I can't believe we actually survived. It's all thanks to your blessings. After the Queen was defeated, the Spider Army stopped in place. His Royal Highness the Prince, we did it. We won. The reinforcements who arrived will recover the bodies of our troops. The stopped spiders have been dealt with as well. We're almost done with the cleanup now. Your injuries this time are quite severe. When we get back to Crossroad, you'll need to visit the temple for sure. Even if you fully recover, it's likely that there will still be many scars left. Scars are nothing compared to one's life. Lily, how are you? How severe are your injuries? At the moment when my magic was depleted, a spider scratched my back. It may have injured the nerves in my lower back, so I can't move my lower body. However, Your Highness, you don't need to worry about me. I'm already very happy to be alive. Survivors include 5 artillerymen. There are also Lucas, Dennis, you, and me. That's all. You should know that before the last battle, there were still hundreds of people left. So Ethan regrets a lot. If he hadn't treated it as a tutorial in the game back then. If he could have thought of a better way carefully. Could he have given these people a little more hope of survival? His Royal Highness the Prince, you don't have to blame yourself too much. You are not a god. In that situation, it was impossible to save everyone. You did your best. But it was I who brought the troops here in the first place. No one expected that the monsters would move on such a large scale again after decades. In this situation, you still led us to win this battle. So I hope you don't blame yourself anymore. Just at that moment, Lucas suddenly opened the door and came in. Your Highness, it's so good that you have woken up. Is there anywhere on your body that doesn't feel well? I will go get Dennis right away. You must be badly injured as well. Is it really okay for you to walk around like this? You know, I am a strong guy originally. During this period, I also made a list of sacrificed personnel. Although the bodies of some people have not been found yet, the bodies that can be recovered have all been processed. Take me to have a look. The two of them quickly stopped Ethan upon hearing this. They sacrificed themselves because of my command. I have to go. Lucas, come here and help me. And that's how Lucas carried Ethan to the edge of the city wall. Here they met someone unexpected. The two of them didn't expect Dennis to be standing here alone in a daze. His Royal Highness the Prince, you're finally awake. How are your eyes? I'm fine now. Since yesterday, I have slowly been able to see things more clearly. Now my vision has almost returned to normal. You should know that all the wounded here are treated by Dennis. This means that he is using restorative magic in invisible circumstances. A young man who used to give up at the slightest setback. After experiencing this life-and-death battle, his young face showed a maturity that did not belong to his age. During Ethan's 3 days of unconsciousness, he treated the injuries of all the soldiers while he was invisible. Ethan is well aware that he has suffered a lot in this battle. Thanks to you, this operation was successful. If you are willing, I can give you unlimited money, and I will never make you appear on the battlefield again in the future. Originally, you were a mercenary, but now you are free. His Royal Highness the Prince, did you not say before that I am the gun in your hand? And I want to know the origin of those monsters. Why do they create those monsters? I don't want anyone else to die in front of me like Ben. So please let me stay by your side. So from now on, you have to follow me. Because a priest is needed at the place for mourning the dead. Now looking back carefully, there may have been no better battle plan than the one at that time. And it's already in the past. There is no need to dwell on other possibilities. Since a choice has been made, one must accept the result. What Ethan can do is to shoulder this pressure and continue moving forward. After the simple funeral ends, all bodies will be recovered and transported. Tens of thousands of deceased appear at Crossroad every year. Their lives are not even worth as much as the funeral. To the west of Crossroad, there is an empty space. I plan to bury everyone there and mourn them, and designate the last day of February each year as a day to mourn their sacrifice. Ethan's doing so is not only for these people, but also for those who have played the game hundreds of times during his repetition. All the characters he ended the lives of, without an ounce of guilt. This is a form of redemption for the player classical enthusiast. Lucas, I will not fail a second time. I absolutely will not fail a second time. It's getting late. We should also go back. Return to our base camp. Crossroad was escorted by supporting troops like this. Everyone embarked on the journey back. After staying on the carriage for 3 days, Ethan finally couldn't hold it anymore. How far is Lucas from Crossroad now? His answer has never changed in these 3 days. Your Highness, we will be there soon. Please wait a little longer. Due to being too bored, Ethan began to check his system panel. Although this character's attributes are extremely poor, fortunately, after reaching level 5, you can choose your own profession. Moreover, all professions in this game can be selected. However, Ethan discovered a profession that he had never seen before. He was very curious about the characteristics of this profession. In the last battle, he obtained a passive skill, Indomitable Commander. This skill can help friendly units within a 10-meter radius become immune to mental abnormal status. Although the effect is very good, it is ineffective in the early stages because mental abnormal magic is something that only appears in the later stages. Just as he hesitated whether to choose the commander profession. Your Highness, we can already see the crossroad. Ethan looked out the window. A massive fortress suddenly appeared before his eyes. Thousands of people die in this city every year. Their lives. It's not even worth a funeral. This is the fortress built at the southern tip of the world. Crossroad built this fortress to stop the monsters coming out of the Black Lake. Although it was once the largest fortress of the Empire, the number of monster attacks has gradually decreased. The Imperial Army has been sent elsewhere, and those vacant positions have been filled by an assortment of mercenaries. Due to rapid development in recent years here, people no longer call it a fortress. Instead, They call it Monster Frontline. And for those mercenaries who value money as their life, this is a dead end. A city built on graves. This is humanity's final line of defense. The crossroad here is much larger than the fortress Ethan saw in the game. At the same time, it also has a prosperity that does not match its size. However, no matter what, Ethan's current identity is the lord of this place. But as the lord, he returned to his own territory. However, he was not welcomed by the residents. Even people kept pointing and gossiping at the carriage. In their eyes, Ethan was a lord who abandoned all soldiers and fled back in disgrace. But Ethan also knew very well, it is impossible to change their thoughts just by words alone. So he was actually prepared before he came back. Now the carriage is loaded with magic stones of Black Widow spiders. Because Black Widow spiders have a high level, even those who don't know much can tell that these are valuable. Due to the magic stones, Ethan won't worry about financial issues during this time. And, in order to ensure the smooth progress of the game, his relationship with the citizens is also very important. Ethan happens to know the method to increase the favorability of the citizens. That is to use shiny gold coins to fill the emptiness in the hearts of the citizens. The carriage arrived at Lord Crossroads' mansion soon. You have worked hard on this journey, Lucas. With Lucas's support, Ethan got off the carriage. But he was soon startled by the luxurious mansion in front of him. This is totally different from where he used to live. Just then, a figure pushed open the gate and ran out. It's great that you returned safely, Lord. Ethan is very curious. Who is the person coming out to greet him? It turns out he is Ide, an NPC who manages the city in the game. All administrative matters in Crossroad must be resolved through him. I, this humble subject, have been worried about you all along. What should I do if there are scars on your delicate body? I have prepared a hot bath for you. Dinner is also ready. Please rest well today. Ethan was instantly mesmerized by the luxurious decoration. Lucas, you go tell the soldiers to rest as well. And don't think too much, go back and rest well. But I still need to protect you. Not today. Rest well, and protect me tomorrow after you've rested. Under Ide's leadership, Ethan arrived at the bathroom. Ever since he crossed over, Ethan has hardly had a good rest. So he is ready to take this opportunity to relax. Speaking of which, you are really amazing, Lord. Oh, my mistake. I should address you as classical enthusiast. This NPC Ide has a treacherous look on his face. Actually recognized Ethan as a time traveler at the first moment. You're really good at it. Classical enthusiast player. Ethan stopped his actions for a moment. I really didn't expect you to use that method to pass the tutorial. Completely beyond my expectations. How would you know these things? Are you a damn guy? Yes, I am the director of the game Guardian Empire. Ide. Before the words finish. Ethan's fist had already landed on his face before the words finished. Because Ethan had crossed into the game world right after receiving his message. Classical enthusiast player. You calm down first. I'm sorry to invite you here suddenly. This world needs you to save it. But before he could finish speaking, Ethan had already pounced on him. Before long, Ide was kneeling on the ground with a swollen nose and bruised face. Let me organize it now. You said you were the director who messaged me at that time. You are really the supervisor of this game. Wait. The director of this world. Then why did you bring me here? Because this world has a real ending. It is the only one. An ending that no one can achieve. And in order to achieve that ending, I reset this world countless times. But I have never succeeded even once. So I started to seek help from others. The scene in front of the two people began to change as I transformed this world into the form of a game. Then I showed it to players from other worlds. Those players explored new possibilities in ways I had not thought of. It's a pity that no one achieved the true ending. I'm the same. I had no idea such a thing existed. Although you did not achieve the true ending. But you have completed a great feat that no one else can accomplish. So far, only you have completed the Hell Ironman mode. Based on my assessment, you have the highest chance of success among all players. That's why I invited you here. That's clearly a kidnapping. And you made me possess this guy's body. It's actually a bug. I didn't expect things to turn out like this either. In any case, if you can achieve a true resolution, I will reward you. I am a classical enthusiast player. I will fulfill one of your wishes. If you inquire about my identity, in fact, my existence is similar to a god in this world. So when you return to your original world, it's not difficult for me to offer you generous gifts. Anything is fine. Can you give me 10 billion in cash too? Just 10 billion. 100 billion is not a problem. Although its words now sound like pie in the sky. But Ethan does indeed have a lot of things he wants to achieve. It should be said, it is a wish that must be fulfilled. Aren't you supposed to have a wish you want to fulfill? And it's a wish more important than money. A dream that you once thought was impossible to achieve. So you gave up on it, right? Until now, Ethan only knew that I'd called himself over after a thorough understanding. He knew that Ethan was regretting something. He also knew that Ethan had been carrying that regret with him in life. I can help you achieve that dream. That dream has long since ended. Since it is still in your heart, it means that dream has not failed yet. It is still waiting for you there. If Ethan can complete the true ending of this world, he will be able to obtain everything he desires from Ide. But Ethan is curious. If Ide has this ability, why doesn't he solve it himself? It turns out that Ide now has many limitations. In this world, he is just an ordinary human. That's why he seeks help from players in other worlds. However, if Ethan fails halfway through, he will die in this world. This is a real world, so you should remember that you only live once. After all, having completed the Hell Ironman mode, Ethan knows a thing or two about this kind of thing. If you want to go back to Earth now, I can also send you back. Actually, when I first invited you here, I wanted to ask you this question. But because of what happened later, I never had the opportunity. Please make a choice. Do you want to challenge and reach the true ending, getting the chance to fulfill your wishes? Or do you want to go back to a peaceful and stable daily life that won't threaten your life? Classical enthusiast player. I will follow your choice. Although Ethan really wants to go back, now the opportunity to achieve his dream is right in front of him. Plus, he has also completed the Hell Ironman mode, which is like him being omniscient in this world. So he feels that even if he clears the level again, it shouldn't be very difficult. It's just a small matter. Let me give it a try. I will take it seriously and make an effort to try. So you must help me well too. And don't forget, if you see the real ending, you must fulfill my wish. I certainly have no problem. You can treat me like a dog now if you want. Before tomorrow morning, go and sell all the magic stones of the black spiders. But it's almost evening now. The market should have closed. Let you do it, just do it quickly. No matter what method you use. I want to see the corresponding amount before dealing with official business tomorrow. But there are a total of 388 black spider magic stones. Even at market prices, that is still a large amount of money. What do you need so much money for? My team still lacks certain individuals, right? Of course, the money is for drawing cards. The next morning, Ethan arrived at the Mercenary Guild with Lucas. After I'd processed the magic stone yesterday, Ethan now has sufficient funds. So he decided to, today, start with a simple 100 draws. When the two arrived at the door of the Mercenary Guild, there was already a commotion inside. It looks like we're lucky this morning, Lucas. Ethan suddenly kicked open the door while saying that. As a dazzling sunlight shone into the room, all the mercenaries turned to look towards the doorway. Where did this brat come from? Do you not want to live anymore? Damn bastards. How dare you still glare at me? I am your future employer. It seems like you are the one who doesn't want to live. The crowd quickly recognized him. The man in front of them was none other than the famous third prince Ethan, who paid no attention to the people's gaze. He was carefully looking for suitable talents. In this game, there are 4 rarities for characters, ranging from N to SSR. The higher the rarity, the stronger the character will be. Just then, Ethan saw a person shining with a purple light. His Royal Highness the Prince welcomes you to the Crossroad branch of the Mercenary Guild on the mainland. The man raised 10 carts of gold bars overnight. He only came to the Mercenary Guild for 100 consecutive draws. I didn't expect that. As soon as he entered, he encountered an SR character. Mercenary. Can you tell me your name? My name is Julia. It's an honor to meet you. I have never seen the military uniform you are wearing. Where is it from? It is the military uniform of the Ebibal Empire. It's a style from decades ago, so it's normal that you haven't seen it before. It seems that you are a soldier in the Empire. I have been in the military for 30 years. I once served as the captain of the 2nd Squad of the Imperial Magic Corps. After retiring, I have been making a living as a mercenary until now. After retiring, continuing to dedicate oneself to the Empire is truly a good example of a soldier. It's not just for the Empire, but also because relying solely on a retired soldier's pension would make life very tight financially. You have digressed a bit. Your Highness, do you have any specific business coming here? Do you have any other reasons for coming to the Mercenary Guild? Of course, I am here to hire powerful mercenaries. Your Highness, aren't you here to buy human shields to sacrifice for you? Upon hearing this, Lucas immediately drew his sword. However, he was stopped by Ethan. The news of your Highness's victory in the frontline base war has already spread far and wide. You seem to have paid a considerable price for your first fierce battle. We do indeed conduct business for money, but we are not fools who dig our own graves. We don't want to follow a commander who is still immature and give up our own lives. That makes sense. But aren't you here to sell your lives? Because you have no other choice but to sell your lives. And now you are telling me that you are afraid of losing your life. Also said that she is not a fool digging her own grave. Julia. Those words sound a bit strange, don't they? Even though your resume is very dazzling. But the reason you retired, is it not because you were caught sneaking around behind the military's back? What is the difference between your actions and digging your own grave? From military corruption to smuggling with enemy countries, you were discovered and then driven out of the army. To the point of doing this, you even dared to wear military uniform. You got really thick skin, Julia. Incarnation of corruption. A retiree with all military achievements wiped out, a disgrace. However, as a combatant, her strength is unquestionable. Known as the heroine among women, lightning sorcerer Julia. Although the results were not perfect, I am proud that I was once a soldier of the Empire. Please be mindful of your words. I want to ask you a question. How much is your pride worth? How much money would it take for you to become my hunting dog? Although I may look ordinary, my value is very high. I now have 100,000 yuan a year. 200,000. I will give you double that, 200,000. Maybe this is a considerable amount for a mercenary's annual salary. But for the third prince of the empire, it's not even worth mentioning. If you can buy SR with money, Ethan is willing to spend as much money as possible. I will purchase your fear of death. I will pay you double your annual salary in one go. Cowards who don't want to risk their lives, leave quickly. But if there are true mercenaries who want to make a big profit, then you guys come to the open space west of Crossroad tonight. The man faced ridicule and sarcasm as soon as he arrived at the mercenary guild. But he not only wasn't angry, he even wanted to offer the mercenaries double pay. If you have real mercenaries who want to make a big profit, then come to the empty space west of Crossroad tonight. After all this, Ethan arrived at the temple and received treatment from the saintess. The treatment is over, but there will still be faint scars left on his body. The saint who treated him is none other than the R-ranked hero, the ultimate healer Mary. If certain conditions are met in the future, you can invite her to join the team. However, Ethan did not come this time with that purpose. Let's stick to what we agreed on before. I have called all the priests who currently have no tasks. Dennis has been assigned here by Ethan since he came back. Let's go then. There are still many things to do today, and it will be a busy day. On this evening, the coffin convoy departed from the forward base. They arrived at the west side of Crossroad. Some people's bodies will forever rest here, and some people will forever remain on the battlefield. Methodically increasing soldiers, and the Empire's national flag draped over each coffin. Also a large-scale choir. Such formal funerals are rarely seen in this city. The most striking thing is the compensation for the families of the deceased. People who were shocked by the amounts continued to discuss the matter. Eventually, this matter spread completely among the citizens. Ethan had no intention of packaging this matter. This is just a show. A very reasonable show. Ethan wants them to know. Fighting on the front lines here should be considered a noble mission dedicated to humanity. Let's be clear from the beginning. In the future, everyone may also sacrifice on the front lines. This graveyard not only has new graves appearing every week, but also echoes with the singing of a choir. But I have to tell you all, your sacrifices are more costly than survival. All funeral expenses and compensation for the deceased add up to a significant amount. Only this time, Ethan will invest half of the funds from selling magic stones into it. Therefore, death cannot become lowly and common. I will do my best to keep you all alive. No matter what methods are used, I will save you all and let you charge at the front line. So please don't fall easily either. You must come to me alive to collect your salary. And not let me use this money for your funerals. That's how Ethan's speech ended. He didn't care how the citizens would perceive the speech. Perhaps they would see it as the excuses of an incompetent commander or the extravagance of a mad lord. But none of it mattered. Because in this place, no one was more capable than him. Ethan knew. It's time to move on to clearing scene 1 now. That evening, he brought Lucas to the backyard of the Crossroad Manor. Ethan didn't hesitate and activated the portal immediately. A bunch of scattered rocks floated into the air one by one. The next second, a magical portal appeared in front of the two of them. Your Highness, what is this? This is a portal that can lead to the underground city beneath the lake. This is also the place that allows free access to the enemy's stronghold. The men were holding a funeral for the fallen soldiers just a second ago. The next second, he is going to lead Lucas to the monster's headquarters. But Ethan is not a spy sent by the monsters to infiltrate the human camp. Instead, it's because Guardian Empire is a game that combines two different gameplay styles. The scenes where monsters surge toward the crossroad are tower defense levels. When the enemies are not attacking, exploring the dungeons to uncover the monster's origins is the attack on the dungeons. Ethan recalled all the experiences after arriving here. Although everything didn't go smoothly, it was actually a pretty good start. He not only has Dennis, who can be called a cheating character, but also Julia, who is an SR wide area attacker. Plus, he also has enough money in his hands. It can be said that he has never had such a wonderful start. Ethan explained the rules to Lucas and told him that they were going to scout the enemy's situation next. Your Highness, I understand everything you said. But looking at Lucas like this, Ethan actually has some doubts. He has been serving the prince for his whole life, and suddenly his temperament changed drastically. He also seemed familiar with the city they just arrived in, and knew all about the existence of underground dungeons. Obviously, all these things are very suspicious, but Lucas has been quietly following Ethan all along. Lucas, don't you have anything to ask me? Lucas' expression suddenly became serious upon hearing this. Ethan was also very worried that he wouldn't be able to answer his question. I will act according to your instructions without any questions. I am both your sword and your shield. So I will only follow your orders. Attack and withstand danger. Ethan knows very well that Lucas must have doubts in his heart. But the meaning of what he just said was to tell Ethan that even if he has doubts in his heart, he will still believe in Ethan. Very well. Lucas, are you ready to enter the cave of hell with me? As long as it's with you. I'm willing to go to the depths of hell with you. And so Ethan chose the only destination. Lakefront Pier. With a dazzling light flashing by, the two disappeared on the spot. The stones that were exuding magic just a moment ago have returned to their original state. When the two reappeared, they had already arrived in front of a lake. The black lake water in front of them is the source of the monsters, a hell releasing nightmares. It is also an underground city located at the southern end of the world. At this moment, a change occurred in the lake water. A passage suddenly appeared on the previously calm lake surface. Shortly after, hands started reaching out from the ground. The next enemy. It turns out to be these ghost knights. Ethan was completely panicked when he saw this scene in front of him. He had thought about various monsters that might appear in Scene 1. Even if the enemy is a flying dragon, he can accept it. But among all the enemies, the one he least wants to face is the Ghost Knight. So, those guys are the monsters we need to stop this time. At that moment, the system sent a warning. They are about to face 1,000 Ghost Knights and one unidentified enemy. Lucas also noticed the changes in Ethan beside him. Your Highness, are you okay? Is there something uncomfortable with your complexion? Little did you know that Ethan had already anticipated what was going to happen next. Crossroad is really in big trouble this time. Even if the enemy is the powerful flying dragon, Ethan will not have the slightest fear either. But the enemy happens to be a large number of Ghost Knights. In the previous game, Ethan would reset the game without hesitation whenever encountering a Ghost Knight in Scene 1. The Ghost Knight is a monster composed of armor, with the undead spirit residing inside the armor. They have very high resistance to physical attacks. Even from the mid-game onwards, it is easy to resist them with a variety of equipment. But the current situation is that they have almost no equipment to block Ghost Knight. Ethan seemed to sense some malice, a feeling that someone was deliberately trying to hinder him. And there are only 3 days left until Scene 1 starts. Let's go back first. Lucas and the others can only try all possible preventive methods now. After returning to the mansion, Ethan immediately asked about the military situation in the city from Ide. A total of 526 troops can be sent to the front lines. Most of the troops have already been lost in the tutorial. Additionally, there are no remaining troops available to reinforce the city. Then send messengers to other cities to borrow troops. Pay them double the standard weekly salary. You also need to send messengers to the royal family in our country. Inform them that the monsters are starting to stir. We must apply for the maximum number of reinforcements. My lord, are you sure you want to do this? If we apply for support from the Empire now, in the future, a deadly scenario will arise. That's a matter for the future. We must survive now. Also, go bring all the craftsmen and alchemists in the city here. But in that case, the work of processing the magic stones will be paused. The city is about to be destroyed. Is processing magic stones more important than this? Capture them all. Ethan realizes the difficulty of this world. It may be even more challenging than the games he has played before. Although he hasn't made up his mind yet, there is no time left for him to consider now. The more difficult the game is, the more important it is to create new variables. Therefore, Ethan decided to take a gamble. Choosing to transfer to the commander system, it was almost the first time that the system congratulated Ethan. But the next second, Ethan felt that there was something wrong with his body. Ethan's growth rate for ability values has decreased by 50%. Not only that, his proficiency with equipment has also decreased by 50%. At that moment, Ethan could hardly believe his eyes. He didn't understand why such a negative career option would arise. But the next second, a series of pop-up windows made him calm down. After changing to become a commander, he can provide buff effects to all friendly units. Even if Ethan is just standing on the battlefield, he can still increase the offensive and defensive capabilities of friendly units at the same time. In this way, Ethan can understand why negative effects occur. Not only that, Commander's exclusive career system will also provide additional ability values based on the team member's career composition. For someone like Ethan, who used to be a gamer, this can be considered the best career. However, things did not always go smoothly. Do you want me to explain to you what happened? Because no one responded to your call for volunteers. So I had to urgently bring all the responsible persons here. The man cleared the most difficult mode of the game and won the prize. It turned out to be a profession with negative effects. But Ethan, who obtained this profession, was extremely excited. This profession can be adjusted according to the team's lineup, providing different enhancements for team members. Even if Ethan does nothing, as long as he is on the battlefield, he can provide buffs for all friendly forces. But he didn't expect I'd stab him in the back again. It turns out that the call issued by Ethan did not appeal to the craftsman. So I'd had to invite them in his own way. You stinky kid. Do you only know how to kidnap every time you call someone? Why did you suddenly bring me here? Why did you suddenly bring me here? Even if you are royalty, you can't do this. The situation has come to this. Ethan can only apologize to them in his own way. Are you guys looking for a fight? How dare you make a racket in front of me? Don't you know who I am? I am the prince of this country and the lord of this city. If I call you over, you should come even if you have to crawl. How dare you hurt my feelings? Have you all become tired of living? I'm sorry, Your Highness. This is our first time serving the royal family. However, after listening to Ethan's words, several people simply could not believe their ears. I will buy back the magic stones obtained by the army at the original price, and sell them to you at a 20% profit. If you have a direct channel to obtain magic stones in the future, it should also be beneficial for you. However, in the future, as long as I give instructions, you must prioritize the production of military supplies. Of course, I will pay all the production costs without any deduction. How about that? This should be a good deal, right? Ethan's goal is to use money and interests as leverage to persuade them. Because he is currently so poor that money is all he has left. Of course we should trade with the Lord. When should we start? What should we do? Ethan is very fortunate. Money is always the most valuable thing in this world. After that, Ethan called for the hero characters in the city. You should listen to what Lucas has to say. There is an army of 1,000 ghost knights. They are advancing towards the crossroad. They are expected to arrive in about 2 days. Everyone present except Lucas is very surprised. Your Highness, what should we do next? Of course you should do your best. I will now give each of you orders on what you should do. Lucas, you are responsible for assuming the role of the overall commander of the forces. Now all the soldiers are very scattered. You are responsible for organizing them within 2 days. His Royal Highness the Prince, I'm very sorry, Lily, but I cannot do this without your help right now. But you don't have to go to the front line. So don't worry. You are responsible for supervising the practice of guarding the city artifact. After this period of getting along, Ethan has decided to let Lily work in this city for a lifetime. Your Highness, I have only one question for you. If you want to see me, this old man, be more active, do I need to increase my annual salary? It turns out that Julia's characteristic is a gold maniac, so she is a true lover of wealth. And she is going to serve as the team leader in this battle. Dennis, take this thing. This is specially prepared for you. Due to Dennis's clairvoyant abilities, he will assume the role of a remote sniper. To prepare for the upcoming battle, Ethan has assigned tasks to everyone. But he is most worried about Dennis, who is the sniper. Because this position is not his primary job after all. Speaking of which, Dennis, where are your glasses? Actually, I wear glasses on purpose to deliberately decrease my eyesight. But now my eyes are useful, so I won't wear them anymore. When Ethan saw that the crowd did not panic because of the enemy's news, he also felt relieved. After the battle meeting ended, Ethan went to the southern city wall of Crossroad. When Ethan came over, the craftsmen also set aside their work. How is the condition of the city wall? The condition is not very good. After all, the city wall has been neglected for many years. Since it's called a fortress city, isn't repairing the city wall a basic necessity? Why leave it neglected like this? That's because of the insufficient budget. The decrease in monster appearances has led to a reduction in the collection of magic stones. Therefore, the former lord reduced the budget. Isn't the fortress built to block monsters? The amount of materials and budget used can be as much as necessary. Be sure to reinforce and repair to an exaggerated extent. Start quickly. The monsters are still advancing towards the city. After leaving the city walls, Ethan arrived at the lumber mill. You should have heard the news. What you need to do in these 2 days is build the wall. That high should be enough. It just needs to block the road. I am very sorry, Your Highness. The monsters can easily smash through the wooden walls. What I need is not sturdy walls that can stop the monsters. Just follow my orders. Use trees to build the wall. Don't worry. These wooden walls will definitely be very useful when the time comes. So stop complaining. Let's get to work quickly. Everything is proceeding in an orderly manner during the following period. Time has flown by. There are only 30 minutes left until the scene starts. The scout is closely monitoring the forest outside the city. At that moment, he noticed something unusual in the forest. They have appeared. The monsters have appeared. In an instant, everyone in the fortress became nervous. Everyone, don't be afraid. I will fight alongside you on the front line. Those guys are just small fry. They're just numerous, that's all. And we are the strongest army in the Southern Empire. The city defense is prepared perfectly. The equipment is also in very good condition. We can completely repel the enemy. Everyone, don't worry. Follow my orders and go into battle. In that case, we can raise our glasses to celebrate victory tonight. However, despite saying that, Ethan is very clear in his heart. The Ghost Knight Legion is the most difficult monster to deal with in the initial stage. The city's defenders are just some wandering low-level mercenaries. Due to the urgency of time, they did not make adequate preparations at all. But these situations cannot be told to the defending soldiers. Ethan can only keep all this quietly in his heart. He can only pray. Julia can play her role in this battle as she should. Little guys, it's our turn to take the stage. All monsters operate on the same principle. Eliminate the enemies in front of you. If there are no other obstacles, they basically move to eliminate humans at the shortest distance. As a result, their movement trajectory is easily predictable. Therefore, it's easy to fall into traps. Unfortunately, due to lack of time, the traps were not dug too deeply. In order to face the most challenging monster in Scene 1, Ethan has already set up traps around in advance. Although the traps are not deep enough, they are sufficient for now. Julia is here now. You damn monsters. Let this old man make a big profit. Julia activated Purification Zone. Unfortunately, there are simply too many Ghost Knights. The damage is not enough to defeat them when divided among them. You dare to challenge me. A group of things that do not know how to respect the elderly. Just saw a trace of lightning emanating from the monster that just entered the Purification Zone. The lightning around Julia is gradually turning blue. Guys, tonight's dinner is fried armor. Shatter them all for me, Julia said, swinging her hand down forcefully. Countless lightning bolts in the sky seemed to be responding to Julia's anger. Seeing this scene, the soldiers on the city wall were also greatly inspired. Originally, Julia first used a skill to mark the monster. Then she used her second skill to inflict unavoidable attacks on the marked target. Julia's performance in this battle is undoubtedly very outstanding. However, unfortunately, there are more than 1,000 Ghost Knights. Even though they have suffered heavy blows, they still continue to pour towards the city in an endless stream. Julia, do not prolong the battle. Retreat immediately. Julia immediately led the assault team to withdraw upon hearing the order. The numerous ghost knights showed no fear of death. Even if their companions fell, they would not stop moving forward. Kids, run faster for me. Don't look back, just keep running forward. They have attracted the monster. Get ready to follow my plan and start taking action. Julia, just move as I instructed. Members of the assault team are about to be caught by Ghost Knight. But Ethan had no way to help them other than praying for them in his heart. Fortunately, the members of the assault team eventually retreated behind the wooden wall. So far everything is going smoothly according to Ethan's plan. Next, it's time for these wooden walls to play their role. These ghost knights have no autonomous thinking ability. They only instinctively pursue the humans in front of them. So they won't destroy the wooden wall in front of them. When the massive army rushes into the crowded crevice, their formation width narrows. I know you have been waiting for a long time. The soldiers of the Empire. From now on, do not hold back. Fire all the artillery shells. The cannons on the city wall began firing one after another in an instant. The crowded ghost knights didn't have time to react. They could only watch helplessly as the shells came closer and closer, ultimately getting engulfed in the explosions. This is the very essence of tower defense game strategy. By forcing the enemy along a specific path to achieve the goal of eliminating them. Fire all the shells for me. Be sure to maintain a fierce bombardment. The firelight in front of them at this moment gave people an extremely comforting feeling. If we keep going like this, we should be able to win, right? Those monsters are unable to pass through there now. No. It's too early to draw a conclusion now. Suddenly, a monster holding a shield appeared in Ghost Knight. They stood in front and resisted the fierce gunfire. Such attacks indeed cannot defeat them. They are really a tough bunch. Merciless gunfire ravages through the group of monsters. Just when everyone thought they could easily win. The sudden appearance of the shield soldiers shattered their illusions. Fortunately, Ethan had already anticipated this situation. Lily is ready now. Initiate quickly. It is Your Highness initiating the activation of the gravity field artifact. The alchemist immediately started to act upon hearing the words. A terrifying gravity was applied to the shield bearer. Their movements became sluggish. Lucas. It is Your Highness's bed crossbow unit. Everyone, get ready. The soldiers on the city wall immediately began to act upon hearing the words. Almost instantly, all the bed crossbows were aimed at the center of the battlefield. Aim the Spirit Core bed crossbows at those guys' chests. Fire. As soon as the words fell, the powerful crossbows shot out one by one. They easily pierced through the shields, destroying their spirit cores. This is the second step of the battle plan. By using crossfire to stack up damage, followed by artifacts and bed crossbows to finish. So far, everything seems to be going smoothly. Some guys have come around the wall, Your Highness. It turns out that there are just too many enemies. The crowded people have pushed them out of the planned route. Julia, you are responsible for intercepting the ghost knights coming from the right side of the wooden wall and using hit-and-run tactics. Be sure to stop them. I will follow your orders, Your Highness. Julia led the assault team to the right side of the wooden wall. Those monsters that were squeezed out headed straight towards them. Damn monsters. Didn't I say to respect the elderly? Now that Julia is guarding the right side, you can rest assured. Now the only worry is the enemies on the left side. Dennis, it's your turn to take the field now. Shoot the guys coming in from the left side. Make sure they don't get close to the city wall. Dennis may be very scared, but his eyes change the moment he aims at the enemy. Without any hesitation, Dennis pulled the trigger in his hand. The arrow flew towards Ghost Knight at a strange angle. It directly pierced the monster's spirit core. Although Ethan knows that Dennis's behavior is no different from cheating. But seeing him hit the spirit core with a stone crossbow still couldn't help but be a little surprised. Now there are cannons, bed crossbows, and artifacts in front of you. On the right, there is a lightning sorcerer named Julia. On the left, there is Dennis, who is comparable to a cheat program. Unknowingly, the enemy has already lost 500 units. At this rate, we should be able to easily win. Just at that moment, Ethan noticed changes on the battlefield. It was a scene he had never seen before in his games. Ethan suddenly remembered that when the enemy's casualties reach 500, the boss monster of the Ghost Knight Legion will appear. So the monster in the air is the Undead Knight. The peculiarity of these monsters lies here. Although the Legion itself is also very powerful. But after repelling them, a boss monster will appear in the second stage. But now the Ghost Knight has not been repelled. The Undead Knight will not take any action. It just floats stupidly in the air. But Ethan forgot one thing. This is not a game but reality. Just the sudden appearance of a huge specter is enough to make the soldiers panic. The Ghost Knight Legion has not been completely repelled. But the Undead Knight, as the boss, has appeared. Even though it just floated in the air without moving, the human soldiers were still terrified by it, and lost their bearings. And this is the only oversight in Ethan's battle plan. The appearance of the gigantic alien instilled in humans the most primal fear. Its presence led to a sharp decrease in frontline firepower. And not just humans. Animals have also been affected by the Undead Knight. This is something that no one expected. As the captain of the assault team, Julia, she was thrown off by the frightened horse and fell to the ground. Ghost Knight, who was watching closely, was not far away. If Julia falls, the entire defensive line will collapse. But those guys have already rushed over to eliminate the living humans in front of them. Members of the assault team stood up at a critical moment. However, Ethan knows very well. Their strength is simply negligible in front of the monsters. Your Highness now needs to use cannons and fire nets to support Julia's team. No, if we just kill them, more guys will come pouring out of there. The appearance of the Undead Knight has caused numerous flaws in Ethan's battle plan. The firing of the cannons and bed crossbows has ceased. The impenetrable wall of fire that once had no gaps instantly slackened. First, find a way to repair the wall of fire. The soldiers have all lost their spirits. Now Ethan can only pray that Julia can hold on a little longer. At the same time, Julia finally woke up from the coma. The intense pain in her body told her that she was still alive. Julia, you are finally awake. Julia, time is of the essence now. What's going on? Such a chaotic scene. It seems like it's not time to lie down and rest yet. The rescue team is about to arrive. We must hold on until that time. But he hadn't finished speaking. Ghost Knight charged towards Julia. The man immediately swung his Morning Star to drive off the monster. But even though the monster's helmet had become deformed, it still did not fall. He actually took a blow from me, and still didn't die. Kid, watch out behind you. Unfortunately, the man was still impaled by a spear. He clearly remembered that the monster behind him had been taken care of. But now it's too late to say anything. It's all over. You bunch of damn monsters. Just as Julia is about to cast a spell, she feels a strange sensation instead. Her magic is out of control. When a mage is unable to use magic, she can only watch helplessly as her teammates fall one by one. In this situation, the mercenary's beliefs collapsed. Without any hesitation, the man abandoned his shield and ran away. But he forgot. The one thing you must never do on the battlefield is to leave your back exposed to your enemies. The small defensive line maintained by the assault team was completely shattered. Julia smelled it. The scent emanating from the Ghost Knight in front. The smell of rust and the smell of spoiled water. Mixed together, it's the smell of drowning. You should obediently stay under the lake water. Are you unwilling to do so? Will you let me, this old lady, easily get my yearly salary? In a state of extreme anger, Julia once again used magic. She killed the monster in front of her with just one strike. But she was very clear that this time, she didn't even have a quarter of her usual power. She knew. This time she was really done for. Members of the assault team fell one after another. Mage can't use magic like before. A group of dark monsters stood before her. Julia knew her life was about to come to an end. You should go now. Saving one person is better than the whole army being destroyed. I will use magic to buy you time. Hurry and run, kid. How can I leave? Staying here is the best way. Grandma, you are a mage. Mercenary survival rule number 2. Always stick closely to our army's mage. Compared to fleeing without a warhorse, the probability of survival is higher if you have assistance by your side. Although these words sound very childish. But the tactics of this young mercenary did work. He did not intend to eliminate the ghost knight in front of him, but to keep his distance by repelling them with his long spear. I will stop them no matter what. Please get ready to launch the next magic attack. Even Dennis is providing assistance for them on the city wall. But it's still far from enough to stop those guys. Just when she had finally gathered enough magical power to summon lightning, the entire body of the young mercenary was shot by the monsters. You bunch of damn bastards. Julia vented her anger continuously through lightning. But it's already too late. If she could gather magical power a few seconds faster, could she have saved this young child? Julia is already too old. There is no way to continue remembering each of these people's sacrifices one by one. Kid, do you still remember the first rule of the mercenary survival code? He heard Julia's voice. The boy turned his head with difficulty. Never accept. Do not accept jobs that offer inexplicably high rewards. I'm sorry, Mother. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Kid, all your survival rules are wrong. Being a mercenary that way won't lead to success. Want to become rich through mercenary work. Make a name for yourself. You should avoid taking extremely dangerous missions and instead focus on ones with generous rewards. You should also try to stay as far away as possible from those damn mages. Because those damn mages will steal your merits. But the most important thing is, if you want to stay alive, don't become a mercenary from the start. I can't even imagine that I've lost the magic to light a cigarette. I originally thought I could earn a high annual salary and enjoy life. Everything is over. It seems that I am also an incompetent mercenary. Time goes back to 3 minutes ago. Ethan ordered Lucas to abandon the rescue. Because in this situation, only by stabilizing the morale can there be hope of holding on. You fools, all of you, pull yourselves together. Don't be intimidated just because that monster has a big head. As soon as the words fell, the soldiers were energized as if they had taken chicken blood. Ethan realized that this might be due to the effect of his skills. He immediately called Lucas when he thought of this. I am responsible for calming the soldiers down and fixing the kill. And you need to go out of the city gate to rescue Julia's team. Ethan is very clear to let Lucas go out of the city alone. This is a very reckless command. But Lucas did not hesitate at all. He went to the dangerous place alone. Everyone, pull yourselves together. Stay alert. Lucas rushed into the midst of the monsters alone. He only wanted to bring back the members of the Special Forces team who were left outside. But he didn't know that. Now, there is only Julia left in the Special Forces team. And she is also prepared to sacrifice herself. Julia asks you to stand still and not move. Before the words fell, Lucas cleanly and efficiently took out the monsters around him. His timely appearance gave Julia hope to survive. But if Lucas could have arrived a little earlier, perhaps everything would have been different. Lucas didn't say anything. He just pulled Julia up onto the horse. Then, he suddenly spurred the horse with his legs and accelerated away from here. The monsters behind them threw their weapons one after another. They attempted to use these spears to block the two from escaping. However, Lucas effortlessly resolved the crisis in front of him with a single stroke of his sword. This young knight, your strength is truly extraordinary. Do you want to meet my granddaughter in the future? She is a very beautiful girl. If you still have the energy to make jokes, please use magic to restore your body, so you can use magic. there are still many monsters left to deal with. Even so, I still want to thank you for saving me. You don't have to thank me. I was just following your highness's orders. But Lucas is also very frustrated. If his horse could run faster. Let's talk about the regrets after eliminating those monsters. I, as an old man, haven't been on the battlefield for a long time. I also haven't been this angered for a long time. Due to the unwavering skill of Commander, the slaying formation in front has been restored. Julia also returned safely. It seems that everything is moving in a positive direction. However, in an instant, Ethan lost 4 precious hero characters. Ethan realized that he relied too much on his past gaming experience. This is a real world, so he must consider more things. For example, a wooden wall will catch fire due to the impact of artillery fire. The monsters have broken through the wooden wall and charged in. In the end, we still have to fight across the city wall. Ethan's original plan was to clear this scene with firepower. The good news is that the number of Ghost Knights has also been reduced to only 1/4. At least so far. The battlefield is still under Ethan's control. Your Highness, I have already rescued Julia. Although Lucas doesn't like the old man in front of him, he is very clear that making good relations with Mage is the wise choice. It's great that you came back alive. Your Highness, I am ashamed to see you. I, this old man, have made a mistake. It's me who let the innocent young people sacrifice in vain. I feel really sorry. This is not your fault. No one expected monsters to suddenly appear in the sky. No one expected the horses to be frightened and run away because of this. No. This is my mistake. At my age, still standing on the battlefield, I should know how to deal with it. So, the mistake I made should be remedied by me personally. I must personally take care of that guy. You should focus on your own recovery now, because I will need your help soon. At this moment, the monsters are still rushing towards the city wall. The artillery is still relentlessly pouring down on the monsters. Cease fire. There is no longer any point in killing them now. The monsters keep charging towards the city walls. But the commander ordered to stop the shelling. But Ethan has not given up resistance. But because they want to save their strength for the strongest enemy. Dennis, you should rest for a while. But those monsters are still advancing. You need to hunt down more powerful monsters. Make sure to recover quickly while resting. At this moment, the monsters have already reached the city walls. Although the city walls have not been breached, the monsters have climbed up along the walls. All prepare for hand-to-hand combat. Upon hearing the command, the soldiers grabbed their weapons and stood by the edge of the city wall. From now on, this will be a magic-free battle. This is a battle where enemies are blocked by the body. But this is the true war. As the monsters approached step by step, the soldiers' hearts were in their throats. They couldn't act yet. They must wait for the most suitable moment. A moment that can completely destroy the enemy. Now is the time. Take them down. The soldiers immediately brought the prepared buckets to the wall upon hearing the order. They were filled with various leftover materials from reinforcing the city wall. Just in case, Ethan left these things on the city wall in advance. Although quite a few monsters were shattered into pieces due to the impact of falling to the ground. But the remaining monsters stood up intact once again. Even after such a heavy blow, they still climbed up the city wall. The soldiers tried to stop those guys as much as possible with long spears. Ethan must now promote Julia to a primary member. Since there are now 2 mages on the team, the magic attack is increased by 20%. It's a pity that the monsters have already climbed up the city walls. Now the soldiers have to engage in close combat with the monsters using their bodies. Looking at the monsters in front of them roaring continuously. Ethan doesn't know if his soldiers can do it. After all, they have to fight monsters. They must overcome their deep inner fears. Just at that moment, a golden light shone on the city wall. I will eliminate them. You just need to do your best to hold your position. With Lucas's encouragement, the soldiers immediately cheered up. Seeing this scene, Ethan also breathed a sigh of relief. After all, if they cannot overcome their fear, the only thing waiting for them is death. Lily activates the next artifact. Yes, Your Highness. Activate the artifact. In this way, the speed of movement of all friendly units will increase by 5% within 5 minutes. In addition, there is the buff that comes with Ethan's profession. Human soldiers finally have the capability to engage monsters in close combat. However, Ethan is very clear about the difference between the two. After all, it is simply impossible to compete with monsters using only ordinary soldiers. The person who can truly influence the outcome of this battle are those heroes with unique abilities and skills. Lucas's first skill is called Strike of Will. The more enemies he defeats, the higher the damage of this skill becomes. With just this skill, he defended half of the city wall. But for him, it is impossible to defend the entire city wall. As time passes second by second, the number of wounded soldiers keeps increasing. But these Ghost Knights, even if wounded, will not affect their combat effectiveness. Dennis wanted to join the battle, but was stopped by Ethan, because he needed to save his energy to deal with the undead knight. Only in this way can the soldiers' casualties be minimized to the greatest extent. Just as Ethan was at his wit's end, a flash of fire illuminated the city wall. The monsters have already climbed onto the city wall. The soldiers were forced to engage in hand-to-hand combat with them. As an SSR hero, Lucas, he alone defended half of the city wall. But as time went by, the number of injured soldiers kept increasing. But at this moment, Ethan had no way to do anything. At that moment, the fire illuminated the city walls. At this moment, the figure in the wheelchair appeared extremely reliable. Lily, you can still use magic, right? Are you being too harsh? I'm just a mage. The unique lack of magical power of a fire mage is vividly demonstrated in Lily. Lily, I believe you can do it. You'd better let me retire. Besides, I've almost run out of magic power. One more time is enough. I believe you can do it. With various buffs stacked, Lily's magic damage has increased a lot. Therefore, she was pushed around in circles on the city wall by Ethan. Just like that, blocked by soldiers using their bodies. And Lucas eliminated the enemies with a knife. In addition, Lily used flames to repeatedly burn the results. The Ghost Knights have finally all fallen. At that moment, the soldiers didn't believe they had really won. Once they realized, they immediately cheered. However, Ethan was very clear that things were not that simple, although he also wanted everyone to rest for a while. But now they were about to face the undead knight. Only the remnants of the Ghost Knight flew into the air. They unexpectedly transformed into the body of an undead knight. Soon, an incredibly huge monster appeared before everyone. He just jumped to the ground, causing a violent tremor. For a moment, all the soldiers were panicked. Ethan didn't expect that the undead knight would be so terrifying in reality. That's a common boss that has appeared countless times in the game. But when it actually stood in front of Ethan, he felt a deep fear from the bottom of his heart. He even trembled uncontrollably all over because of fear. But he quickly forced this fear down in his heart. Because he understood. It was simply impossible to escape from here. Fire the guns. Don't hold back. Shoot all the shells. The intense artillery fire instantly engulfed the undead knight. But with such powerful firepower, it only made it take a half step back. The undead knight is approaching the fortress step by step. Lily, quickly activate the third artifact. Upon hearing this, Lily immediately activated the magic amplifier. It can provide double magic amplification for a user. The person receiving the magic amplification is naturally Julia. Very good. I finally feel a little bit like my old self now. Julia, please do your best. Focus your firepower on the enemy's chest armor. Your Highness, you must pay attention to preventing lightning strikes. I won't be responsible if you get an electric shock. With a single strike, she actually pierced through the undead knight's armor, revealing the monster's spirit core clearly in front of everyone at this moment. Dennis, quickly aim at the monster's spirit core. Upon hearing that, Dennis immediately activated his Farsight ability and used his powerful crossbow to shoot directly at the undead knight's spirit core. No surprises there. The crossbow bolt hit the spirit core with pinpoint accuracy. The spirit core shattered in front of everyone, just as Ethan thought everything was over. But the undead knight raised his sword towards the fortress. Clearly, the crossbow arrow had pierced the monster's spirit core. But the undead knight still raised the sword in his hand. Once this sword falls, the entire city wall will crumble directly. Julia, go again. In the stormy weather with lightning, you dared to raise your weapon over your head. Fool! Is your wish to be struck by lightning and die? Suddenly, a burst of thunderous light appeared on the undead knight's body. Julia, one more time. In the stormy weather, you actually dared to raise your weapon above your head. Fool! Is your wish to be struck by lightning? Suddenly, flashes of lightning appear on the undead knight's body. The next second, the blue lightning strikes straight on the monster's body. Although the undead knight has been completely engulfed by lightning. But the sword in its hand has already been swung towards the city wall. Everyone, quickly get out of the way. Quickly escape from the black shadow. Your Highness, you also need to hide. But at this time, the sword in the undead knight's hand has already fallen on the city wall. The residual force of this sword even overturned the surrounding soldiers. Thanks to Luca's help, Ethan was not injured by the recent attack. The heroic characters in the team also managed to dodge in time. But the sword of the undead knight was left on the city wall. Now Ethan and his team no longer have the ability to fight. The good news is that the undead knight also perished in the recent attack, consuming its last bit of health. They finally won the battle. At this moment, the remains of the undead knight are undergoing another transformation. Lucas quickly prepared to protect Ethan. However, Ethan stopped him. This turned out to be the undead knight's final struggle. Although this attack will not cause harm to people. But if you are accidentally caught in it, it could cause a mental breakdown. This is human territory. Hurry up and get out. That's how the undead knight's final attack turned into golden light and dissipated. What about that huge monster? What about those ghosts? Did His Royal Highness the Prince eliminate them all? Is everything over? With the dispersal of the undead knight, the dawn finally broke through the thick clouds. The Imperial flag still flies high above Crossroad. We have defeated those monsters. We have won. We have survived. We will continue to win in the future. Keep surviving. The fear is gradually disappearing from the soldiers' eyes. In its place is the joy of victory shared by everyone. At this moment, Ethan is in everyone's eyes. No longer the infamous Third Prince. He is a qualified commander. A true leader. But they don't know? All they experienced was the night the first scene war ended. Crossroad returned to its former peace. But at this moment, the central square of the city is brightly lit. We have repelled those armored monsters. Let's toast to celebrate our victory. Cheers! Everyone, let's have a good time tonight. It's my treat. After Ethan's speech, the banquet began. After a day of battle, people immersed themselves in the music and welcomed a brief respite. The soldiers and residents continued to drink cup after cup. The food in the pot exudes an enticing aroma. The steaks on the grill sizzle. Life seemed so wonderful with all of this. But Ethan sat alone away from the crowd. He watched as people's faces lit up with expressions of happiness. His heart was also filled with contentment. Your Highness, are you all right? You haven't eaten anything all day. Come and have a bite quickly. The mighty undead knight fell in front of the city wall. To celebrate the hard-won victory, people held a feast in the central square. But Ethan, as the Lord, sat away from the crowd and alone. Your current expression. Not like a victorious commander. You, without significant losses, repelled over 1,000 ghost knights. I think you can be a little happier. This time we did not have significant losses indeed. But some people still lost their valuable lives. Ethan is well aware. It is meaningless to talk about the magnitude of losses when someone has passed away, because there is no distinction in the value of life. Every person's life is extremely precious. But Ethan, because of his arrogance, did not save everyone. If he had been more thoughtful in the first place, maybe they wouldn't have lost their lives. And it's different from the tutorial back then. There is definitely room for improvement this time. After realizing this, Ethan's inner turmoil grew even more intense. Your Highness, I think you have done well enough. There is no need to blame yourself. I know that even if I say these words, your regrets will not disappear. But Your Highness, this is a banquet held to celebrate victory. If you are not happy, the morale of the soldiers will not be boosted. Please smile. At least in this moment. Enjoy the happiness with everyone. That's also what a commander should do. He's absolutely right. I'd suddenly emerged from behind Ethan. It is important to mourn those who have sacrificed, but there should also be time to celebrate victory and enjoy happiness. Eating only meat is not good for your health. So, I especially prepared some vegetables for you. Congratulations on passing scene 1. It was a very difficult scene. You did a great job. Please continue to lead everyone to victory in the future. After listening to Ite's words, Ethan picked up a tomato to eat. Your Highness is eating vegetables. Your Highness, there is no meat here, so you can only eat vegetables. I'm sorry, Your Highness. It's our mistake. The third prince, who gained fame for only eating meat, can only eat vegetables here. The little rascals. Quickly go get some meat for Your Highness. Also, bring some wine for Your Highness. Let us eat meat heartily. Let us drink wine heartily. Ethan, who doesn't understand what's going on, suddenly finds things have become like this. He clearly intended to review today's battle on the side. At this time, a hand grabbed Ethan's clothes. It turns out that Lily quietly came up behind Ethan, and it's unclear when she had already gotten drunk. Please let me retire, His Royal Highness the Prince. But in the current situation of such a shortage of people, how could Ethan possibly let Lily retreat into the background? Fortunately, the alchemists quickly discovered the situation here. So they dragged Lily away to rest. However, Ethan has not come to his senses yet. Dennis has started again. His Royal Highness the Prince. The water here is a bit bitter. Originally, Julia has been secretly pouring alcohol into Dennis' cup. He is now a dignified mercenary. Not only does he need to learn to drink a bit, but also to smoke a bit. He is just like my grandson. So I will personally educate him well. The octogenarian kept pouring alcohol into the cup of the underage person. And Julia even wants to teach Dennis various ways to waste money. Just because she thought Dennis was like her own grandson. But at this moment, Dennis actively leaned on Ethan. He dared to lay his head on the royal family's jade body. Dennis, you're getting braver and braver. When I'm alone, I often think of my deceased friend. The scene of that day lingers in my mind. This guilt often weighs heavily on my heart. But strangely, as long as I'm with you, my mood can be calm. But Ethan is very clear. This is not because he thinks he is such an extraordinary person. It's all just because of his passive skill. But he can't tell Dennis about it. I don't know why. During the time I was coordinating with you, there was a strong sense of magic becoming more powerful. Is it because of your excellent leadership? Ethan understands. This is actually due to his own qualities and teamwork. But he can't tell everyone the whole truth. Your Highness, when I am with you, I also become single-minded and feel my body light and agile. It's all thanks to your excellent moral character and innate talent as a leader. So that's why you stick closely to me. Can't say for sure. For the sacrifice, comrades, for us who survived, for His Royal Highness the Prince. I don't know when suddenly there were a lot of people around Ethan. It's all because we couldn't liven up the atmosphere. His Royal Highness the Prince, who can even drink for a whole week, didn't even have a sip of alcohol. Since you dare to let me, as both a lord and a commander, drink alcohol, that also means you guys can handle it. Everyone. Pour me a full glass of wine. That's it. Everyone during the time when the moon crosses the night sky. They eat heartily while singing and drinking, enjoying this hard-won victory. After the banquet, Ethan prepared to open all the customs clearance rewards first. I didn't expect the first box to contain a legendary golden item. And this is also a finished SSR-level equipment. Ethan couldn't help but shiver all over. But the next second, he threw the glove straight out. It turned out that the lucky hand is a prop used for humor in the game. The damage of this glove is determined by the roulette. It is generally used to liven up the atmosphere during performances. However, no matter how useless it is, this is still an SSR-level prop. Ethan picked it up and wore it in his hand. He can only pray that he will draw the jackpot in a critical moment in the future. Time passed in a blink, and it was already the afternoon of the next day. Ethan woke up feeling his head still buzzing. And Lucas at the door also looked half dead and lifeless. "Are you okay? You should have gone back to rest in the morning." "As a guard of your highness, how can I rest?" Just at this moment, I'd suddenly appeared. "Good morning to both of you. This is a warm cup of honey water. Each of you, please have a cup." After sobering up, Ethan came to the top of the city wall. The current situation of the city wall probably can't even stop wild beasts. How long will it take to repair it? It will probably take about 2 weeks, because lifting that sword is a massive project. But now there are less than 10 days left until Scene 2. But the giant sword of the undead knight remains on the city wall. It will take at least 2 weeks to repair the city wall. Mobilize all the soldiers without injuries. Starting from tomorrow, they will all be dedicated to repairing the city wall. How is the expansion of forces going? Soldiers will be dispatched from nearby cities soon, and the messengers sent to the center will all return tomorrow. Although Ethan can intervene in other matters, he has absolutely no way to reinforce the forces. Since things will only make progress tomorrow, let's do what we can during this time. We are going to the underground dungeon to destroy the source of those monsters pouring out. Do we have to go to Blackwater Lake through the portal like last time? Yes. But this time we need to go directly under the water in the lake. Ethan didn't explain much to them. He just told them that they would embark on an expedition the next morning. And because it takes a team of 5 to go to the dungeon, Ethan was forced to bring Lily and Ida along. Go prepare some supplies for the expedition. What items do you need? Canned food, camping tools, and various potions that can be stored. The most important things are lighting, flashlights, and torches. Bring anything that can emit light. The next morning, everyone gathered in the backyard of the Lord's mansion. Such a big setup. Where exactly are we going? You will find out soon. As soon as the words fell, the stone on the ground floated up. A teleportation gate appeared in front of everyone very quickly. Is this the spell of instant teleportation? This magic clearly disappeared hundreds of years ago. How could it be? Now we are going to take this portal to the monster stronghold, Black Lake. And the kingdom of those guys is right beneath the lake water. We need to investigate there to find out the reason why the monsters keep emerging. This is the only way we can avoid monster invasions forever. Ethan chose the lakeside dock without hesitation. Before long, the group arrived at their destination. So this really is the lake. Julia, have you been here before? That was 20 years ago. The Imperial Army was stationed at Crossroad back then. They ordered us to come down and fill the lake with mud. Filling such a large lake with mud. It seems that the commander 20 years ago was pretty foolish. They mobilized the entire magic army. They wanted to fill the lake by throwing mud into it. But in reality, it just couldn't be filled up, no matter how much mud and stones were thrown in. The lake water just endlessly swallowed them up. It's as if it's truly connected to hell. At that time, this matter spread widely among the Imperial Army. On the 7th day of the battle, monsters began to pour out in large numbers. In the end, the entire army retreated and the operation failed. Since then, this is the first time I have been so close to the lake water. Getting nervous is a good thing, because we are about to enter a deeper place," Ethan said as he opened the way into Lakewater Kingdom through the system. A huge vortex suddenly appeared on the lake's surface. This is the entrance to the underground city. Without any hesitation, Ethan jumped into the lake water first. Black Lake, which once made the Imperial Army all return without success. Now Ethan only leads 5 people there. After jumping into the lake, they immediately found themselves surrounded by darkness. Everyone stayed calm and didn't panic. They turned on the lights first. Soon Ethan and his team saw their companions around them. Just then, Lily was startled by something that appeared in front of her. Everyone heard a noise and quickly looked ahead. "Your Highness, what exactly is this place?" "This is the underwater dungeon beneath the Lakewater Kingdom, which sits on the reef. It is also where we will need to clear one by one in the future. The monster's lair." Ethan found that he can not only breathe here, but also move without any restrictions. It's probably because of the ancient magic that is shrouding the city. How can there be a city under the lake water? And how are we able to move around normally? Don't speak. Someone is approaching now. Upon receiving Lucas's reminder, everyone immediately entered combat mode. In front of them, a white-haired figure wearing a black robe walked towards them with a sword on his back. "Everyone, don't be nervous, they are not enemies. Because this is the first time entering the dungeon." Ethan speculated that she might be a guiding NPC. "Are you treasure hunters here to find treasure in the Lakewater Kingdom? There is nothing here that you want. While you can still breathe, it's better for you to go back now." Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of astonishment when he saw the woman in front of him. This was an NPC he had never seen before. In the Lakewater Kingdom, there are over 100 NPCs living there. They will appear randomly to guide players. However, the woman who appeared this time is a character that Ethan has never seen in the 742 games he has played repeatedly. "We come from the ground, searching for the source of the monsters. We are here to end the situation, because the monsters constantly emerging from here are tormenting the surface. The nightmare of Lakewater Kingdom will not stop. No one will ever wake up from this nightmare. Even with great warriors and countless heroes. They once challenged to lift the curse here. But without exception, they all failed. Do not step into the darkness here. Return to the ground before things become irreparable. I am the Lord of Crossroad, the fortress city that stops the monsters. I have the responsibility to protect the people from being attacked by the monsters. I am not afraid of the darkness. We need to enter the interior of this city. Destroy the source of the monsters. That's why we came here. But because the door is locked, we can't get in. If there are other ways to pass, can you please guide us?" "No problem. I just want to see if what you said comes from genuine courage or just bravado. Please follow me. The way into the city is this way." "What should I call you? What is your name?" "I've forgotten my name. If you must call me, then call me No One." And so the crowd followed behind No One. They walked along the outer perimeter of the city wall for several minutes. "We can't follow this unidentified weirdo. It must be a trap." I said, "It's okay. Just follow her first." At this moment, No One finally stopped in their tracks. Ethan encountered an NPC named No One for the first time upon entering Lakewater Kingdom, whom he had never seen before. They followed No One for over 10 minutes before finally arriving at their destination. If you enter from here, you can access the interior of the city. This is the water distribution facility, so the ground is very slippery. Please be careful. In this way, the crowd walked for more than 5 minutes in the narrow water distribution opening. Finally, they arrived at the first area of the Lakewater Kingdom, a dried-up water channel. Here are the city's entire water distribution facilities. Although there is not a drop of water here now, Ethan did not hesitate and immediately set up a portal here. In this way, this place has become a safe area where monsters cannot enter. And next time you can teleport directly here to start. However, at this point, Lily was too scared to continue walking inside. But how could Ethan just go back like that? The guidance ends here. The path ahead requires your will to move forward. I warn you. The Lakewater Kingdom here has been completely consumed by nightmares. The further you go, the darker it will become. The monsters will also become stronger. If you still must walk towards the abyss, then I have one piece of advice for you. Absolutely cannot let the torches in your hands go out. Seeing no one with such a serious expression, everyone fell silent. Wish you good luck in the future. Hope we'll meet again someday. Just like this. No one walked alone into the darkness. Who exactly is that woman? How could she live in a city under the lake? The darkness here is very strange even for His Royal Highness the Prince. My eyes can't see clearly over there. But that woman doesn't carry a torch either. How does she move around in this darkness? But Ethan doesn't know any of these things. We will surely meet her again. We can ask her about these things then. After a brief rest, Ethan and his team are ready to tackle the first level. With the current level of our team, there shouldn't be any major difficulties in completing it. And so the group proceeded towards the darkness with torches in hand. It turned out to be a corridor connecting to the sewage pipeline. Where does the end of this lead? Don't worry, we will be there soon. It turns out that the underground city is mainly composed of rooms and passages. In the rooms, you will engage in battles with enemies or discover items. Random activities can also occur through encounters with NPCs. The activity in the first room is to defeat the monsters in front of them. Ethan and his team need to eliminate a total of 14 large sewer rats. Although the number is large, they should not be underestimated, as the rats are not particularly difficult enemies. Lucas, you are in charge of the vanguard. Just focus on taking out the approaching enemies to hold the line there. These guys have very tough skulls. Aim for their eyes or neck. Mages save firepower. You are only responsible for attacking the guys breaking through Lucas's defensive line. And Ethan, who is the only one without combat power. Just watch from the sidelines. That's it. Lucas easily killed the approaching monsters. Dennis also made full use of his abilities on the side. Every arrow he shot hit the monster's throat and eyes with precision. The large sewer rats in the room were quickly eliminated. It was quite simple for everyone. Compared to the previous enemies, this was indeed much easier. Your Highness, there are a total of 13 here. Should we collect magic stones now? Ethan suddenly thought. The system had clearly informed him of 14 large sewer rats. Ethan easily dealt with the monsters. However, Lucas found only 13 bodies in total. It turned out that the system had alerted Ethan that there were a total of 14 large sewer rats. Realizing this, Ethan suddenly turned around, only to see the last monster charging towards him. Instinctively, Ethan extended his hand and punched the monster. Because of his lucky hand, this punch triggered the lottery system. He unexpectedly dealt 121 points of damage. He punched the large sewer rat directly into the wall. For a moment, everyone was stunned. Remember, it's not easy to get a 3-digit number on the lucky wheel. Your Highness, are you okay? Did you get hurt just now? I'm fine. But what exactly happened just now? How did you manage to defeat that monster with just one punch? Because my fist is the fist of the prince. Royalty can occasionally unleash super strength when in a state of emergency. Of course, everyone in the team, except for Lucas, had an unconvinced look on their faces. However, Ethan still managed to gloss over the matter. There is nothing in the second room. There must be something hidden here. Everyone searched carefully. His Royal Highness the Prince. There seems to be something here. It's a treasure chest. Be careful. This could be a trap disguised as a treasure chest. However, due to Julia's Gold Rush character, she has already rushed out first. Fortunately, it's just a regular treasure chest. I'm very sorry. I can't control myself as long as I smell the scent of money. Julia handed the treasure chest to Ethan, while secretly filling her pockets with gold coins. The third room is the same as the first one. They easily pass through it. Soon, they arrived at the last room. As long as we pass through this one, we can go back. Let's all cheer up. But when he saw the scene inside, Ethan couldn't help but be startled. The room was full of large sewer rat corpses. At the far end of the room, there was a huge and terrifying monster. A rat. They must hunt down the rats. They must clear the rats out of here. I can definitely make Lakewater Kingdom clean. Dennis didn't expect that the monster could actually speak human language. However, his voice was also heard by the monster. There were still live rats around. No matter how many they killed, rats would continue to appear endlessly. The system revealed that the monster was a giant Ratman sewer manager named Bar. Ethan didn't understand why they gave Ratman a human name. But he didn't have time to think about this, because the monster was already rushing towards them. I will destroy all of you. Because Lily is very afraid of mice, she instinctively used fire magic against Ratman. She happened to disrupt the rhythm of the mouse's attack. The scene in front of them greatly shocked the three people beside them. But this also gave Ethan time to think of a strategy. You damn mouse. It's about time to rest. This old person is tired too. Just as the words fell, a thunderbolt pierced through the monster's head. Ratman's body kept emitting strong lightning flashes. Even Ethan didn't expect it. The boss was taken care of so quickly. The final level of the dungeon. Turns out it's a monster with a human name. Ethan thought there would be a fierce battle. Never thought Ratman was directly taken out by two mages. Your Highness, can we go home now? Of course. But now we need to open the treasure chest first. Saying that, several people arrived at the reward chest. Lucas, go catch Julia first. Lucas, let me go. You must respect the elderly. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ethan opened the treasure chest. When attacking a monster from the rodent series, you can increase damage by 25%. The only person in the team who uses a sword is Lucas. Ethan then gave him the weapon. Although it cannot replace the sword you have been using all along, carrying it with you will definitely come in handy. However, Ethan remembers that there should be another reward. So he started looking for it in the bag. He quickly found the thing he was looking for. This is an automatic defense turret that is sure to drop here. After receiving the reward, several people continued to walk towards the depths of Lakewater Kingdom. Soon they arrived at the second area, a hidden alleyway. Ethan didn't expect that. Just a small alleyway in Lakewater Kingdom could be so magnificent. A city once built by an advanced magical civilization. Now, there isn't a single living being in sight. It can only sink endlessly into darkness, step by step towards death. After a moment of sadness, Ethan built a portal here. The area beyond will be even more dangerous than here. And Ethan has already obtained what he wanted. Everyone has worked hard today, let's end it here. We will head back now. Ethan didn't know. After he left, a person appeared at Lakewater Kingdom. Could it be the last player? Finally, they arrived here. The man blew the flute in his hand while speaking. In an instant, numerous sewer rats appeared in the entire alley. The players looked miserable. Please forgive us for our sins. I am just like you. Everything is for the Lakewater Kingdom. At the same time, Ethan has returned to the mansion through the portal. Everyone has worked hard. Rest well today. I really don't know if I can still rest. There is actually a city under the lake. I really can't guess what happened there. And that darkness is definitely something abnormal. His Royal Highness the Prince. Is there anything else you would like to tell us? Although Ethan cleared the entire game, the game did not explain why Lakewater Kingdom ended up looking like that. Not yet. Let's gradually understand it together in the future. It seems that I won't be able to fall asleep tonight. I need to go have a drink. Then I'll join you. It seems like I can't fall asleep either unless I get a little tipsy. That's how Julia took the lead in escorting Lily away. I'll head back to Temple first. I'm a little scared at the thought of that darkness. If you go back to pray, you should feel better. Dennis, you should go back and rest well. Let's head back now to relax and relieve some fatigue. Your Highness, do you need to go down to investigate again? We have completed the reconnaissance this time. The monsters that will attack this time are the Sewer Rat Legion. It turns out that these monsters will first gather in the free exploration area. When they exceed a critical point, they will flood outside the lake. So the monsters they encounter during exploration will be the Legion that needs to be faced in the next defense battle. After this underground exploration, Ethan has already learned that the next enemy is the Sewer Rat Legion. According to the current situation, they are not really difficult opponents. But as soon as he returned to the mansion, I brought a piece of bad news. Both the capital and nearby cities all said they could not send reinforcements from outside. Ethan doesn't understand why this situation has occurred. However, at this moment, Lucas's stomach untimely growled. After all, everything has been set. Even if we know now, it won't change anything. Ethan simply let I prepare the meal. Let's discuss this matter tomorrow. Early the next day, I was called to the war room by Ethan. It turns out that the Empire is currently engaged in battle with the enemy country in the west. Almost all troops have been deployed to the Western Front. Ethan is very clear about the background of the game. But he couldn't understand why when he applied for reinforcements, even the troops in the remote southern regions were called away. In addition, it's only been a few days since the last war ended. The Mercenary Guild doesn't have many mercenaries available now. Just as Ethan was feeling distressed, I'd started to laugh. Why are you still laughing? Is there still a place where troops can be provided? Indeed, there is. But you will be in a difficult situation. Is it a problem that is putting me in a difficult situation right now? We must solve the next scene. Hurry up and tell me, where is the place with troops? Since you are so eager to know, why don't you just come with me? In no time, the three people were ready with their horses. Adjutant-eyed, where are we going now? We are now going to the residence of the former Lord Margrave Chris. Margrave is a count who guards the Empire's borders. They need to resist enemy countries and eliminate monsters invading the Empire. Because of the task of guarding the borders, Margrave has greater authority than the average count. Since people first gathered at Crossroad, the Count Chris's family has been ruling here. Therefore, the entire fortress is also named after the Count's family surname. Since the fortress was founded, the Chris family has been guarding it. They are a very prestigious family. Why did Margrave give up the position of lord here? If what I had said is true, Margrave's authority here is even greater than that of the Emperor. If he had not voluntarily resigned from the position of lord, Ethan would not have been appointed as the lord here. So Ethan doesn't understand why the Margrave would give up the hereditary rule of the territory. It's a complicated story. You better listen to him explain it in person. Unconsciously, several people have already arrived at the Margrave's mansion. This is the villa of Count Chris. He moved here after giving up his position as lord. Ethan suspects that there really is someone living here when he saw the scene in front of him. Of course. I have been regularly sending supplies here. At that moment, an old man appeared. Who are you? Do you know where this place is? You dare to enter without permission. Get out. Get out of my house. My Lord Margrave, how have you been? It's me, Ide. Ethan didn't expect it. The old drunk in front of him is actually Margrave. To obtain troops that can resist monsters, Ethan traveled a long way to the former lord's mansion. But he did not expect that the Margrave, who had guarded Crossroad for many years, he turned out to be just an ordinary old alcoholic. Lord Margrave, I have brought a guest. Didn't I say not to let anyone come to see me? This is the newly appointed lord, the third prince of the Empire, Ethan, your highness. Nice to meet you, Chris Margrave. I am the youngest son of the great emperor, your highness. I came here to discuss something with you. Please leave. Ethan didn't expect to be interrupted before finishing his sentence. I asked you to leave. Can't you hear me? Even though, Margrave, you were the real ruler here once. You shouldn't have banished the prince you met for the first time either. Are you being too presumptuous? Do I need to tell you about our superior-subordinate relationship? But at this moment, the Margrave has already picked up the weapon. Ethan realized. The Margrave in front of him might be a complete lunatic. And the best way to deal with a lunatic is to escape. Take advantage of the fact that I haven't made a move. Hurry up and scram. Don't show up again. Pretend that I don't exist. Margrave named Shire Chris is a character who has never appeared in the game. But his daughter Bunny Chris is the most powerful tank in the game. So Ethan has to take down this drunken old man no matter what. Speaking of which, why can that old man help us solve the manpower problem? Because the Chris Margrave family has private soldiers. That is an elite force that is loyal only to Margrave. As long as we can persuade Margrave that there is a shortage of manpower, there will be significant improvement. It seems that we must incite him no matter what method we use. But now it is not the time for dialogue. It is even a problem to meet with him. His Royal Highness the Prince. We do have some ways to deal with it. There are specific ways for an alcoholic to get closer to another alcoholic. After hearing Ite's words, Ethan immediately understood what he meant. In the evening of the same day, he once again arrived at Margrave's mansion. It seems that you don't understand the value of life. I have told you this before. But when he saw what was behind Ethan, his attitude changed somewhat. What is that thing? What else could it be? Saying this, Ethan lifted the cloth on the cart. Of course, it's something you'll love to death. After all, the third prince is famous for being a playboy. So he definitely won't come empty-handed to the countryside. Let's have a drink together. This is Margrave, a premium wine from the Empire. But if you don't want to drink, that's fine. Who said I don't want to drink? His Royal Highness the Prince. Please come in. Bring those wines along. That's how Margrave entered the mansion with Ethan. What came into view was bottles strewn all over the floor. The air was also filled with a pungent smell of alcohol. I haven't drunk with other people for a long time. Is this glass clean? Even if the house is a mess, the wine glass should at least be clean. This is basic etiquette for wine. Let me quickly see what good wine you have brought. It turns out to be the royal whiskey of the Peacemaker's first year. This wine is very precious. This wine is brewed to commemorate the current emperor's accession year. Even ordinary nobles find it difficult to enjoy. So Ethan believes Margrave's attitude towards himself shouldn't be too bad. Muddled old drunkard. A playboy prince who always indulges in wine and women. A meal of wine between the two of them decided the fate of Crossroad to come. For this, Ethan specially brought a fine wine reserved for royal talents to enjoy. He believes that with this wine, Margrave's attitude towards him will definitely not be too bad. It is indeed a famous wine. It tastes very different from the moment it touches the throat. Are you drinking so quickly? Can you feel its true charm? If you compare it with the cheap stuff you usually gulp down like water, then shouldn't this wine also be gulped down in big sips? Only by doing this can a fair evaluation be made. In short, Margrave is what we need to talk about today. Do not change the subject. I just invited you in to drink. If you want to chat about something else, then please leave. Then at least prepare some appetizers. Hearing this, Margrave surprisingly did not get angry. Here you go. Saying this, Margrave tossed out a dark bag. These are dried fruits made from the fruits in my orchard. Do you still have an orchard? Out there by the window. Can you see it? Just behind this mansion. The place is very small. Taking care of those fruit trees is my pastime. However, Ethan spit out the dried fruit as soon as he put it in his mouth. What is this exactly? It's bitter and fishy. How should I eat this thing? After I cultivated it so carefully, the fruit that I harvested made you throw up. That's just rude. But that being said, Margrave also threw it up. Although it is a fruit I cultivated, it really tastes bad. There's no other way. I can only give it to you as a gift. Why would you give me something you can't even swallow? I would keep it for myself if I could eat it. Why would I give it to you? At that moment, Ethan completely couldn't find any reason to refute. Crossroad is located at the southern tip of the mainland. Here, there is abundant sunlight and fertile land. There is no land more suitable for planting fruit trees than here. Not only fruits, but also various other crops can be grown here. As long as the land is cultivated, it can produce abundant harvests. If those monsters didn't keep barging in here, even though the monsters destroy the land, it's a problem that farmers lose their lives too. But those guys tried some murky magic on the land when they were being taken out. Do you know what happened next? The area was completely contaminated. Even planting crops couldn't escape the fate of death. In other words, the land has already been cursed. That's why there are no farmlands around Crossroad. Margrave looked at the wine glass with a complex expression. It was brewed using grains and fruits that could not be harvested in this area, representing the royal family's golden wine. Since it has come to this, why do you still take care of the orchard? People live in this world. There will always be a hint of nostalgia in their hearts. That orchard is my nostalgia. Now I won't get drunk easily either. Do you want to guess the reason I came to see you today? I've mentioned it before. If you want to chat about something else, then leave. If you want to drive me away, then go ahead. But let me finish what I want to say before leaving. The monsters are starting to get restless again. And this time, the scale is not to be underestimated. Last time, 1,000 ghost knights invaded, although we tried our best to stop them. But the city wall was severely damaged. And now we are also facing a shortage of soldiers. We urgently need troops now. Margrave, I need those soldiers under your command. Ethan finally revealed his intentions after 3 rounds of drinks. We urgently need troops now. Margrave, I need those soldiers under your command. I do not have any soldiers at my disposal. I am aware that your family possesses soldiers. Indeed, there are some that I personally selected and trained. They are friends who have accompanied me to the battlefield for a lifetime. But when I gave up my position as a lord, when I set down that spear and shield, those friends also laid down their weapons. Now they have all retreated. Please reassemble them. It's no use. The land here no longer has any value to guard. Don't let them risk their lives in vain to defend a worthless front line. Let them escape. Ethan had never expected this, from the distant ancestors to the present. A man from a family that has always been dedicated to guarding this land. You wouldn't expect him to say something like that. I said, Your Highness, why have you come to this land? Everything on this land will eventually head towards death. There is neither a future nor hope. This is a message from a former guardian who wasted their life protecting this place. Here is their advice to you. Leave here. The sooner, the better. Before you are consumed by the curse here. Did your Highness successfully persuade him? No. However, still received a gift. There are no issues that can be resolved in a day. Take it slowly. Speaking of which, has Margrave ever encountered anything? He seems to have experienced something significant. Lucas, do you know? That kid actually made me listen to Margrave personally. Damn, director. Looks like I need to educate him when I go back. In any case, convincing him is a big deal. But before that, we also need to do what we can do well. Because no matter what happens next, the monster's attacks will come as scheduled. And what Ethan needs to do is to efficiently eliminate the monsters as much as possible. We return to Crossroad. There are many things to be done. This time, they will face 3 elite monsters. There are also 3,251 large sewer rats. Time quickly came to the second day. The giant sword on the city wall has been cleared. Today, all the debris will be cleared, officially entering the work of repairing the city wall. The wreckage of the giant sword does not need to be cleared. Just throw it directly in front of the city wall. They will make excellent roadblocks. They can also serve as mouse traps. How long is it expected to repair the city wall? Because the condition of the city wall is worse than expected. Just get to the point. How many days are needed? It will take 10 days. But now there are only 7 days left until the next defense battle. The city walls of Crossroad are the result of Imperial construction technology. Ethan understands that this cannot be simply filled in with stones. I will airlift manpower and materials over. No matter what happens, the city walls must be repaired within a week. Ethan is well aware that this is an unreasonable request, but he can only forcibly urge them to complete it now. Because of the huge rats they encountered in the underground dungeon. There were over 3,000 of them this time. So this defense battle must not be without walls. We will do our best. I will remember your hard work and dedication in my heart. Everyone. This is the work of safeguarding the world. Let's cheer each other on together. In order to successfully guard Crossroad, Ethan started living a monotonous life. He supervises the repair of the defense line on the city wall during the day. At night, he comes to Margrave's house to drink with him. They never chatted again between him and Margrave. Just drinking. The defensive line is also being repaired step by step. The alcohol these days has also put a strain on Ethan's body. Finally, 3 days later, Margrave spoke first. His Royal Highness the Prince. Do you have someone you deeply love? Upon hearing this question, Ethan was a bit confused. He didn't know how to answer. I asked if you have someone you deeply love. Judging by your reaction, you probably don't. Indeed, you don't. Think about it carefully. Are you sure there isn't really someone you deeply love? You should know that Ethan is not a person in this world. He has always been alone in the world where he lives. He has never received anyone's love nor loved anyone. He just lives a lonely life by himself. Later, after he started live streaming, he slowly gained popularity. He received love from many viewers. But those are just one-sided love from the audience towards him. Young man. It looks like your life is very boring. Is staying alone at home and just drinking all you can do? Margrave, do you have someone you deeply love? I used to have one. My wife. She is the only one I have loved all my life. But she passed away 3 years ago. She was torn apart by monsters in the orchard here. So I had to hold a funeral for her with an empty coffin. The Margrave gazed absent-mindedly at his own wineglass. The lord of this land has a curse that has been passed down through generations. It's about the city and the beloved person. They will have to make a choice between the two one day. Without exception. Starting from the distant ancestors who were lords, to my grandfather and my father. Not a single person has escaped that curse. As these words were spoken, the Margrave's hands had begun to tremble uncontrollably. I am the same. Eventually faced with that choice. At that time, the monsters had been quiet for over a decade. The city was peaceful, but revenue had decreased due to the worsening financial situation. So we had to start a new industry no matter what. At that time, my wife suggested farming the land south of the front lines. The land north of the front lines was already saturated. The empty land to the south was indeed very attractive. The frequency of monster appearances decreased. The magical pollution of the land disappeared. It was indeed land suitable for farming. So I expanded the farmland to the south. Subsequently, refugees from other places also heard the news and rushed over. Because there were fewer monsters, it was very easy to drive them away. For a long time, things were indeed resolved very well. And the orchard here sits at the southernmost tip of that reclaimed land. My wife, as the lady of the manor, took the lead in cultivating the land in the most dangerous place. I still remember the scene of my wife feeding me grapes with hands covered in soil. Although the quality of fruits grown in the first year of cultivation here is not good, they are sweeter than anything in the world. So I briefly had that kind of wish. Maybe we don't have to exterminate monsters anymore. Instead, we can live by cultivating the land and harvesting fruits. I ask myself, will I continue to have days like this in the future? The first time, I tasted grapes planted by my wife. Margrave had a wish in his heart. Perhaps we won't have to slay monsters anymore. I asked myself, will days like this continue in the future? Although I know it's an impossible thing. in the second year of cultivation. I received alerts of about 100 monsters approaching the city. I hurried back to the city, while my wife, who stayed at home to take care of the orchard, waved to me and reminded me to be careful. When I arrived in the city, I found out that those guys had split into two groups. About a dozen monsters had broken away from the main force and attacked the farmland. The main force of monsters had started attacking the city. I must make a choice. Whether to save my wife in the farmland or protect the tens of thousands of people in the city. What do you think His Royal Highness the Prince ultimately chose? Ethan was silent for a few seconds. You chose to guard the city. That's right. Just like our family has done for generations. By principles and values. I ultimately chose the city. I locked the city gates and kept the monsters outside. After a few hours of fierce fighting, we finally managed to repel all the creatures. Later, when I hurried back on horseback to the cultivated land, I found that the farmland had been destroyed. All the peasants working on the land had perished. Hundreds of people were torn apart by a dozen monsters, leaving nothing behind. The orchards here, along with my wife, suffered the same fate. I was loyal to my duties. But I lost the most important thing to me. Where did the problem occur? Is it because the defense line against the huge monsters is not strong enough, or is it because I forcibly expanded southward towards the front lines? That's right. It's all my fault. But what really pains me the most is, in the moment of choice, I abandoned my wife. The version of myself that chose the city. My daughter says I'm crazy. She never understands why I didn't choose her mother, but chose the city instead. A few days later, she left. The result of guarding here for a lifetime is this: the wife passed away, and the daughter left me. Leave me here alone to grow old slowly. New Lord. This is just an example. You should know why people call the battle lines here what they do. The city over the graveyard. This city, built on a pile of death, will demand choices from you as well. The moment will come when one must sacrifice what they love most to protect this city. Ethan feels that rather than a curse, this is more like a prophecy. It's as if foretelling an inevitable outcome. Our family has always endured such sacrifices. But I can't let this happen again. I will not pass on this cursed job to my daughter. Sure enough, you return the position in order to prevent your daughter from inheriting the lordship position. That's right. I hope my daughter can leave this cursed land and live a happy and peaceful life. His Royal Highness the Prince. You said let me help you guard the city. I have already tried my best to guard here. Even lost my most important thing. I don't want to continue anymore. I don't want to sacrifice on the city walls. I want to grow old slowly in the orchard here. Reflected in Margrave's eyes in the wine glass. There is no longer a sense of pride in guarding the front line for a lifetime. In his eyes, there was only one man at the last moment. Regret for not being able to protect his wife by his side. Protecting the Margrave of Crossroad for generations. He can only numb himself with alcohol now, so he can drift through this world in a haze. This answer should explain why I don't want to help you anymore. I spoke the truth because I am grateful for your companionship during this time. Please leave. Before you go, let me give you one last piece of advice. If you also encounter that kind of moment, be sure to make a good decision. Don't regret like me. And at this time, there are only 2 days left until Scene 2 begins. Everyone has worked hard. Let's have some food and take a rest. When everyone saw Ethan brought the food, they immediately gathered around. You little brats, finish eating quickly and go back to work. Ethan then asked the person in charge about the progress of the repairs. Thanks to your highness providing sufficient manpower, we should be able to complete the project on time. The city wall will be repaired in 2 more days. Now is the time to start building that one. His Royal Highness the Prince. Can I finally use this now? So this is the magic scroll that Ethan obtained in the dungeon. It was just researched by the alchemist today. Ethan hesitated and used the scroll immediately. After a burst of light, the scroll in Ethan's hand disappeared. Then Ethan started to look for materials to build the cannon tower. The R-grade magic core obtained from the treasure chest before also came in handy. After preparing the materials, Ethan chose the location for building the turret. Instantly, the broken stones on the ground all floated into the air. They assembled into an enormously large cannon under the gaze of the crowd. Just a few seconds passed. A brand new cannon stood tall on the city wall. Seeing the magical architectural technology that had disappeared hundreds of years ago, the alchemist also revealed a look of longing. It is also thanks to you all that such a strong defense line could be built. I will also count on everyone in the future. Ethan left the city wall amidst the cheers of the crowd. He really hopes that this situation can continue indefinitely. After leaving the city wall, he arrived at the blacksmith's shop. He used the materials he had collected before to customize a set of armor for Lucas. This set of armor has average stats, but its attributes have a significant impact. Undead transformation can make the user immune to all damage for 5 seconds. However, during this period, the user also cannot attack others. I will definitely use it well. Of course. This is something I personally customized for you. When Lucas came to take measurements, he had a look as if he wanted to cry. Ethan decided that he would have to send him gifts regularly in the future. Thank you for making such a good set of armor. I should be the one thanking you. It's been a long time since I've come across such good materials, which makes me very happy. If you entrust it to me again, I will definitely do my best to create something good. Your Highness, please come often for custom orders. You should know that until the end of the game, the equipment made in the blacksmith shop is very important in the strategy. So Ethan will definitely be a long-term customer here. After dealing with the blacksmith shop, Ethan has one last thing to do. Let's go to the western region. The most important event is happening there. On the plains to the west of the fortress city, the sound of cannons for mourning the dead echoed through the sky. To make up for the manpower shortage at Crossroad, Ethan did his best to seek help from Margrave. But Margrave no longer exuded the vigor he once had. He is now just an elderly man waiting for death. However, Ethan will not be discouraged by this, because no matter what happens, the monsters will come as scheduled. Fortunately, the construction of the city walls and the setup of the defenses are progressing relatively smoothly. Now Ethan only has one thing left to do. Let's go to the western region. That's where the most important activities are happening. From the plains to the west of the fortress city, the sound of cannons honoring the deceased echoes through the sky. The funeral has begun. This is a funeral held for the soldiers who died in the previous scene. Underneath neat gravestones, some new coffins were being buried. The number of deaths in the previous scene was not many. Ethan didn't know whether this was lucky or unlucky. The singing of the choir keeps echoing around. That's it. All the procedures were completed in an instant. When night fell, Ethan still gazed at the tombstones in front of him, unwilling to leave. A large part of the city budget is used for funerals. They also provide subsidies for the deceased. It does seem like the style of a royal family. But this is the monster frontline. This is a place where corpses pile up. There will always be moments when goodwill cannot be sustained. Margrave, did you come here just to say such things? Or is it because you have finished all your wine? For someone like me, there is never enough wine to drink. I will buy my own. But today I came for another reason. I asked the opinions of my old comrades in arms. They used to be my soldiers. I asked them if they were willing to assist you in guarding the city. So what was their response? They all said they were willing. They are willing to guard the city once again. That's great to hear. This is the best news I've heard all week. Although I don't know if those veterans can help you, they are being rearmed. The command is yours. Be very careful when sending them out. They are all old-timers like me. Thank you so much indeed. Margrave, you don't need to thank me. You should thank them. You should know that Ethan is distressed because of Margrave's stubbornness. Unexpectedly, Margrave took the initiative to help himself. That's also thanks to you going to talk to them. I'm really grateful. This old man can only help you so much. I entrust this city to you, new lord. Good luck to you. Thank you for your assistance. I will perform well, Margrave. I will often come to borrow your wisdom in the future. What kind of wisdom is this? Remember to bring me alcohol. I am very worried about your health. I will send you an ample supply of medicinal herbs. You little rascal. If you send those, you might as well not send anything at all. That's it. Margrave waved goodbye, leaving the crossroad that had been guarded for a lifetime. Ethan watched as Margrave's figure gradually faded into the distance. He really wanted to keep Margrave in his heart. Because Margrave, despite his old age, served as the commander guarding the front line for his entire life. He would definitely be a great help in the defense battle. But Ethan cannot do that, because Margrave has already lost too much in this city. The only thing Ethan can do is to silently watch the old man's departing figure. Ethan also hopes that next time he has the chance, he can have a heart-to-heart talk with him and listen to the former lord's advice. But at this moment, he never even dreamt that there wouldn't be a next time. This would be the final conversation between the two lords of Crossroad. The Margrave, who has guarded this place for generations, has finally laid down the burden on his shoulders. From now on, Ethan will guard the thousands of lights inside the city. The Margrave waved his hand, as if bidding farewell to his past self. 2 days passed quickly. The city wall had also been completely repaired. Although many places were in a hurry to complete the work, there should be no problem with the city wall serving its intended purpose. Now everything is ready. Not only is there an abundance of supplies, and the previously vacant troops have also been replenished. Although the Twilight Legion originally had over 1,000 people, now only 300 remain standing here. But being able to have so many people come over is already very good news. The automatic defense artillery can greatly compensate for the lack of firepower. The slaughter zone prepared specifically for monsters has also been set up. Ethan now has the confidence to easily repel this enemy. But at this moment, a man wearing a mask appeared. On that vast land, only he stood quietly watching the crossroad. Just then, a soldier rode a horse from afar. His Royal Highness the Prince, reporting from the reconnaissance base. The monsters are already heading towards Crossroad. Before long, Ethan saw the vast land covered in smoke and dust. They are coming. Don't let your guard down. Since playing this game, Ethan has never had such a wonderful start. But at this moment, he noticed a figure in the smoke and dust. He didn't understand. Why would someone appear on the monster's path at this time? Your Highness, what happened to you? Lucas, I just saw someone over there. But following Ethan's hand direction to look over there, there is nothing but billowing smoke and dust. Dennis, didn't you see a person over there? Dennis immediately activates his clairvoyance. I didn't see anyone. His Royal Highness the Prince. Ethan looked ahead with a serious expression. He could only pray that he had just made a mistake. At this moment, the city wall began to shake. This meant that the monsters attacking the city were very close. But the more this happened, the more Ethan needed to calm down. Regardless of whether he had just mistaken his sight or how many enemies there were. The only thing Ethan could do was to stop them. Artillery unit, prepare to fire. At the moment they heard the command, the cannons on the city wall resounded one after another. Countless shells flew towards the rat swarm. In the narrow passage, they caused great damage to the rat swarm. Just one round of shelling turned hundreds of rats into mincemeat. Ethan is very clear. The characteristic of a rat swarm is the large number. Nothing else matters. And because there are too many of them in number, so they all move in groups. As long as you perform area attacks, you can take out a large group at once. Unconsciously, the battle has been going on for more than 30 minutes. We can definitely pass through this scene without any injuries. But at this moment, the mouse actually climbed over the wooden barrier blocking the road. Ethan quickly picked up the telescope to observe the situation on the battlefield. It turned out that under the wooden barrier, a pile of dead mice were stacked together. The monsters stepped on the bodies of their own kind to climb over the wooden barrier. He thought it was the easiest level to pass. But Ethan saw a mysterious figure before the scene started. But before he could think too much about it, the mouse climbed over the wooden wall again. As the bodies of the monsters continued to pile up, the wooden wall collapsed under the weight. It was unexpected for Ethan that the kill zone lost its effectiveness now. He quickly instructed the artillery troops and bed crossbow troops to change their aiming points. Fortunately, there is still a distance between the killing area and the city wall. Besides, it is filled with obstacles in the middle. But Ethan overlooked one thing. Once the restrictions are removed, the mice move too quickly. Large cannons and bed crossbows cannot aim at them at all. At that moment, Ethan couldn't think of a solution either. As a commander, he should have paid attention to the characteristics of the mice. Perhaps it was the recent influx of good news that caused him to overlook the most important thing. If this continues, there will be more mouse groups arriving at the city walls than Ethan anticipated. Just then, the automated defense turret beside them activated. In just a moment, it fired dozens of shells. And without exception, every single one of them hit the monsters below the city walls with pinpoint accuracy. Ethan was so impressed by its effectiveness. But just relying on a single automated defense turret, it still cannot change the overall situation on the battlefield. And after exhausting all the ammunition, the automated defense turret entered the reloading sequence. Now there is nothing that can stop the footsteps of these rats. Although the fragments of the giant sword have played a certain role, it is only a matter of time before they reach the city wall. Once they reach the city wall, it is inevitable that bodies will have to be used to block the rat swarm. This will definitely result in many casualties. Just then, a cannonball landed precisely in the middle of the rat swarm. And this is just the beginning. Each subsequent cannonball effectively stopped the monsters from advancing. Ethan couldn't help but wonder what was going on. That's right. That's it. Little guy, you did a great job. The Twilight Legion is actually a group of battle-hardened veterans. They provide valuable experience for the young soldiers. Cheer up. Take one step at a time. Don't push yourself too hard right from the start. It's too early to think about finishing. It's okay if your shot misses the target. Keep firing. A wall of fire can also be effective. Your Highness, you don't need to worry here. We veteran soldiers will command well. These veterans never leave the soldiers' side, acting as mentors for them. They have brought the already defeated battlefield back on track. Thanks to the active Twilight Legion, we are able to effectively attack those sewer rats. At the same time, Ethan and his team members are also responsible for their own tasks. Lucas is commanding at the front line. He is responsible for issuing precise commands based on Ethan's instructions. Even though Ethan, who does not understand the art of war, gives ambiguous commands, Lucas also understands. He then issues precise commands. Dennis is responsible for sniping. Although a bit slow, he shoots very accurately. So he has taken out all the sewer rats near the city wall one by one. Perhaps in such large-scale battles his role is not outstanding. But he has also relieved Ethan of a lot of pressure. Lily is still on site managing the city's defense artifact. She deliberately raised her voice a little, trying to make herself appear very busy. It's as if she's showing off to Ethan. I am working hard. But even so, Ethan can't let her fade into the background now. The only difference is Julia. While everyone else was busy fighting off the monsters, she was lying alone on the city wall, drinking wine. When everyone is busy fighting off monsters, Julia, however, was lying alone on the city wall, drinking wine. Although Ethan did tell her to rest first, he didn't expect Julia to be openly drinking here. The key point is that Julia is still a precious mage. Ethan can't say anything bad about her. To be honest, Ethan actually doesn't like this grandma. But so far, the front line is still being maintained very well. And the automated defense turrets have already been loaded with ammunition. Every time it fires a round, it can effectively strike the swarm of mice. Continuing like this, we will definitely be able to smoothly pass through this scene. But at this moment, Ethan once again saw an inconspicuous black dot. That black dot. It turned out to be the figure Ethan had just seen. After realizing he had not been mistaken, Ethan immediately drew a map. The moment he saw the map, he was stunned. He never expected that there would be hostile NPCs in Scene 2. Although this game will have different activities in each scene. Some of the NPCs come from the hostile kingdom or the lake underground city. They will try to hinder the progress of the scene in their own way. But it's only Scene 2 now. It's not the time for hostile NPCs to appear at all. And Knight is not here right now. He can't inquire about the current situation either. Dennis. You saw that man, didn't you? His Royal Highness the Prince. Are you referring to that troubadour? Do not hesitate. Aim for his head and shoot immediately. But he doesn't look like a monster. He is human like us. He didn't remember who that person was until he heard Dennis mention Troubadour Ethan. Shoot him in the head before the guy starts playing the flute. But Dennis hesitated. His hands were shaking. He didn't want to aim the weapon at a human. You said you wanted to become the gun in my hand, didn't you? If you don't want to see more people die, aim at his head immediately. But everything is too late. A melodic flute sound drifted up to the city wall. Ethan slowly turned around and looked towards Troubadour. Only to see Troubadour placing the flute at the edge of his mouth. The supposed pleasant flute sound made Ethan a little frightened. At that moment, all the sewer rats stopped moving. The soldiers on the city wall also stood still. They did not understand why the rats suddenly stopped. All the rats emitted sharp cries, as if in response to the troubadour's flute. They surged towards the same spot. Where is it? Where is their destination? It's the center of the city wall. There it is. It's the section they just finished repairing today. Cannons and bed crossbow troops. Change all the aiming points. Concentrate all fire. Almost at the moment when Ethan gave the order, the cannons and bed crossbows all fired at once. But it was still too late. The situation on the battlefield was constantly changing. The changes in the monster's actions were too sudden. The acceleration of the sewer rat left the soldiers no time to react. But what happened next left everyone stunned. The sewer rat at the very front actually slammed into the city wall and died. And this was not the end of it all. The monsters that arrived afterwards also fiercely slammed into it. It slammed into that section of the city wall that had just been repaired this morning. The wandering poet brought the invitation from the Grim Reaper. The melodious flute played the trumpet of attack. The monsters swarmed towards the fortress one after another. The mice didn't hesitate at all. They fiercely rammed into the city wall. They hit the city wall that had just been repaired this morning. Keep in mind that the city wall was repaired just a few hours ago. Although everyone did their best in the insufficient time, it is inevitable that the city wall is not in perfect condition. Because only the cracked parts were repaired, it is inevitable that there are still some gaps. Now those monsters are using their bodies to attack the gaps. They use their heads to hit the wall, and their toenails to pry open the iron plate. They use their teeth to bite and crush the stones, step by step dismantling the city wall. Methods that other monsters cannot accomplish. Only the mouse can achieve it. Even if it costs them their lives, they are willing to do it. But Ethan has no way to deal with all of this. At that moment, I don't know if it was Ethan's illusion. He seemed to see the troubadour smiling. Troubadour is an NPC from Lakewater Kingdom. He can give commands to monsters with his flute, referred to by players as the flute-playing man. Take aim at his head quickly. Make sure he doesn't escape. But Dennis' hands have been shaking uncontrollably. Troubadour seems to be teasing. He adjusted his hat under Dennis' watchful eye. Dennis, what exactly are you waiting for? Dennis was unable to shoot the crossbow in his hand until Troubadour disappeared, but instead, after he escaped, He relieved himself by setting down the stone crossbow. I'm very sorry, His Royal Highness the Prince. Although he is the enemy, aiming at a human for me. But Ethan can also understand. After all, Dennis' original profession was a healer. But many of their enemies are also humans. Fighting against humans in the future is inevitable. If this problem cannot be overcome, Dennis' combat effectiveness will be greatly reduced. Let's save this question for after the war. Right now, Ethan has more important issues to address. Concentrate all firepower. Make sure those monsters don't get close to the city wall. Julia, you have something to do. Hurry up and appear before me. I knew you would need me. I have been ready for this for a long time. You asked me to turn all those rats into dust. Powerful lightning struck from the sky in an instant, landing directly in the group of rats in front of the city wall. Lily, prepare the flame emission artifact. Use it all at maximum power. Yes, Your Highness. Launch the flame emission artifact. The next second, a powerful flame bursts out from the artifact. At once, the area in front of the city wall became a forbidden zone where rats could not set foot. Now this area has turned into a natural killing zone. Do you think the fortress built by the Empire is just for show? A group of brainless idiots. Just at this moment, the system suddenly sent a new prompt. The boss, who is just indicated by a question mark, suddenly has a name. This means it's time for the boss to make an appearance. Their intentions are very clear. They aim to break through the weakest point in the wall. Stop them. We must stop them. Ethan takes advantage of the monster's characteristics. He has turned the city wall into a new killing zone. Just as everything is moving in a positive direction. The boss of the Sewer Rat Legion, Ratman Warrior, appears. Accompanying them is the second wave of the Sewer Rat Legion. Almost at the moment of appearance, Ratman Warrior charged straight towards the city wall. Don't just stand there. Make sure to stop them. All the artillery immediately fired at the newly appeared Ratman Warrior. But the Ratman Warrior completely ignored those shells. It ran straight towards the city wall. Keep in mind their size. They are at least twice as big as the Ratman Ethan encountered in the dungeon. Once it collides with the city wall, all previous efforts will be ruined in an instant. Just at this moment, the ammunition loading of the automated defense turret is completed. Instantly dozens of shells shot straight towards Ratman Warrior. The overwhelming firepower instantly engulfed it. That's it. The first boss fell in front of everyone. But the situation has not improved now. They are back. Be ready. Make sure to take down Ratman Warrior. Fire the cannons. Spare no expense. Full firepower engaged. Activate the magic amplification artifact. The target is Julia. His Royal Highness the Prince. I seem to have an endless amount of power now. You group of brats. Let me teach you how to respect the elderly. I only saw dozens of thunderbolts falling like raindrops among the group of rats. In just an instant, countless rats melted away. But it's precisely because of this. Ratman Warrior did not fall. Julia's attack has been spread out too much. The remaining damage is not enough to kill Ratman Warrior. Lily, use Flamethrower quickly. But His Royal Highness the Prince. The artifact is still cooling down. So, Lily, you have to personally take action. The powerful firepower instantly engulfed Ratman Warrior. In the blaze of fire, Ratman Warrior finally came to a halt. As the flames dissipated, the second Ratman Warrior fell. But at that moment, the third Ratman Warrior pushed aside the fallen comrade blocking the way. There is one left. We must stop it. Only to see Lucas carrying the sword on his shoulder. His gaze was determined. The next second, Lucas's long sword flew straight out from the city wall. But this sword's damage is still not enough to kill the Ratman Warrior. His Royal Highness the Prince. One more shot is needed. Dennis, put a period on all of this. There was no hesitation. Dennis fired the stone crossbow in his hand. Success. We killed it. But the next second, Ratman Warrior stumbled towards the city wall. Ethan didn't expect that. After sustaining so much damage, it could still move. With a loud noise, Ratman Warrior fell down. But in the end, it fell beneath the city wall. The city wall was breached. Time goes back a few minutes. Margrave watches the battle from a distance. As a battle-hardened commander, he quickly noticed the differences in this group of monsters. Not only were they enormous in scale, but the monsters were also not a motley crew. Instead, a unified legion has appeared. He couldn't believe it. Ethan had already gone through 3 battles like this. Margrave finally understood why Ethan had been so insistent on asking for help. That young noble, who only knows how to enjoy himself in the capital, did an unbelievably good job. But all of this is still too dangerous. The Margrave is very hesitant about whether or not to help. But he remembered the scene when he returned to the orchard. The memories left by Crossroad were just too painful for him. And Margrave has already stepped down. As an elderly person, he doesn't need to personally get involved anymore. When he saw the monsters attacking the city in front of him, Margrave finally understood why Ethan was so eager to ask for his help. But he had stepped down already. There was no need for him to personally intervene now. It's fine as long as he accompanied his wife to enjoy their golden years in the orchard. But at that moment, Margrave heard a loud noise. Ratman Warrior broke through the gates of Crossroad at the moment of his death. But Margrave has sworn never to return to the battlefield. He just wants to return to the orchard now. My wife is waiting for me. I will definitely protect you this time. At the same time, Ethan issued an evasion order to the town. Immediately, the city gate has been breached. Now the residents in the town are no longer safe. The second wave of the Sewer Rat Legion is already at our doorstep. Leave a few artillery and archers behind. Members who can engage in melee combat should go to the base of the city wall. Remaining personnel, continue firing the cannons. Be sure to build a fire net in front of the collapsed city wall. Julia, you can rely on your judgment in battle, but it's best to resolve as many enemies as possible at once. Once you have gathered enough mana, release all the lightning. Now only Host is available as an artifact. Where is the flame artifact? There are 10 minutes left until it's fully charged. Apply the haste to the soldiers of the White Blade group immediately. Once the flame spray is fully charged, use it right away. At this moment, Dennis has fallen into deep self-blame. He feels that the current situation is all caused by himself. Ethan's idea exploded in Dennis's mind. So far, you have been performing very well. I won't blame you for a few small mistakes. So don't be discouraged. As a sniper who can hit enemies 100% of the time, Dennis is the cheat code in this world. Just having such excellent subordinates like you gives me great power. So I hope you can have confidence in yourself just like I believe in you. Dennis, listen carefully. You are to be the final line of defense guarding the fortress. You are to snipe those who slip through the cracks between the blades of the White Lotus. The sewer rat infiltrating the city. Ethan can do nothing now. All he can do is pray that they can each complete their respective tasks. They have entered. The Byron team is ready. In an instant, the expressions of all the soldiers are extremely serious. They are waiting for Sewer Rat to enter the fortress. The moment the first Sewer Rat enters, it is killed with a single sword strike. As the commander of the White Blade group, Lucas must set an example. The passage they came out from is very narrow. Don't panic. Deal with them one by one. With Lucas' inspiration, all the soldiers were in high spirits. But Ethan found something wrong. The number of sewer rats on the city walls is increasing. Ethan suddenly realized that these monsters must be secretly expanding the passage. The flame jet artifact is ready. The next second, a sharp scream caught Ethan's attention. Only to see a portion of the sewer rat had climbed up the city wall and killed the alchemist. Those alchemists fell in front of Lily like that. Ethan rushed over and punched the sewer rat. But the damage this time was not high. The monster was just knocked back. Sewer rats are still climbing up the city wall continuously now. Bring them all over here. You bunch of damn bastards. The gaps in the city wall are constantly being enlarged by the monsters. Many monsters have already climbed onto the city wall. And because of the casualties of the alchemists, the artifact cannot be activated. Members of the White Blade team on the first floor also suffered casualties. The distant interception team should have helped reduce their burden, but the number of casualties on both sides is increasing. Even Ethan had to rely on the lucky glove to join the battle. If this continues, there will really be irreparable losses. A turning point appeared at a critical moment. It was Lord Margrave. He heard the voices of soldiers. Ethan quickly looked towards the outside of the city. Just then, a dazzling light came from the plain not far away. Ethan still remembered that long spear. The stubborn old drunkard. At this moment, he was charging alone towards the monster. You damn monsters. Come at me. When Ethan saw the familiar glow, he knew that Margrave had used wide-scale provocation. In this way, all sewer rats will target him. He does not understand. What does this old man, who is no longer willing to guard the fortress, want to do? What are you doing? Acting like that will get you killed just like Margrave. But the only response he got was Margrave's unwavering gaze. Shire Chris was born in a fortress that blocked monsters, whether it was when he inherited the position of Margrave after his father's death, or when he became a lord at a young age. He hunts monsters every day. For him, the world is just that simple and clear. It was so until that woman came to the city. What do you want to sell in this city? Sell flowers, my lord. The businesswoman got the permit to open a shop in the city. Shire Chris was very speechless facing that woman. This is the monster frontline. What we need here is guns and ammunition. Flowers are of no use here, and they will wither soon. It's precisely because they are useless that people need flowers. The reason flowers are beautiful is precisely because they will wither soon. Shire Chris couldn't understand, so he doubted that the woman was a spy sent by a hostile country. To find evidence that the woman is a spy, he goes to the flower shop every day. Later, he began to distinguish the colors and fragrances of the flowers, and he remembered all the different types of flowers. But he still could not understand why the flowers were beautiful. 1 year later, Shire Chris proposed to her. Time goes back to now. Margrave's skills have attracted the attention of all the monsters. At that moment, the Sewer Rat Legion surged towards him alone. Margrave rushed into the midst of the monsters as before, doing what he used to be best at. He still remembered that day when the monsters invaded. That night, he hurried home right after repelling the monsters. Honey, look. This is your daughter. Shire Chris hadn't had a chance to wash away the blood and dust on his body. He carefully picked up the little one. Bunny, our daughter, lives up to her name. Isn't she beautiful? But Shire Chris didn't respond as he was not quite sure. He doesn't understand. Such a fragile little creature that could easily vanish. Why does it bring joy to people's hearts? Just a while ago, he was all-knowing when hunting monsters. But now, he can't understand anything. When the monster was about to break through the final defense line, Margrave appeared. He used the wide-scale provocation skill to attract the attention of all monsters. He clearly swore never to guard here again. Yet, he appeared without hesitation. Quickly prepare the troops. Do not use heavy weaponry to avoid accidentally injuring the Margrave. Only use crossbows and bows. Shoot at the peripheral sewer rats first. Lucas, take all soldiers capable of close combat to the outskirts of the city. Make sure to rescue Margrave. Your Highness, we not only need to rescue Margrave. This strategy involves us circling around behind the group of sewer rats to launch an attack, which will enable us to annihilate them in one fell swoop. We will annihilate that group of guys. Come back alive with Margrave. Everyone, let's take down those guys together. Bring Margrave back alive. Ethan can only pray in his heart at this moment. He hopes that Margrave is not in any danger. the old drunkard who swore not to guard the city, is now fighting for the city. Shire Chris himself also does not understand. He does not understand why he is doing this now. Clearly, he had already decided to spend his last moments beside his wife. Why did he suddenly choose the city again? He doesn't know. He is attracted by something in this detestable city, which is why he is fighting again. Although he has striven all his life to understand, he still does not understand himself. However, there is one thing he is very clear about. Flowers and daughters. He wants to protect those fragile and fleeting lives from the invasion of those monsters. Behind the city walls lives my daughter, and the world where my daughter lives. None can pass. Not even one. As time passes, more and more wounds appear on Shire Chris's body. But he still hasn't fallen. Still blocking these monsters. He knows. No matter how seriously he cultivates the orchard, how many monsters he hunts here, those times can never come back. But the man who only knows fighting in his whole life will definitely wield his spear again, even if it's just to defeat one more. Shire Chris persists in carrying his companions on the journey to the Yellow Springs. Gradually, the surroundings quieted down. He was curious why the monsters did not attack him anymore. Perhaps he had stopped breathing. At this moment, a voice from the side caught his attention. Chris Margrave, you have defeated all the monsters. The battle is over. At this moment, Shire Chris finally regained consciousness. The monsters have been destroyed. You can rest now. Like this, the Margrave Shire Chris of Crossroad has fallen. After repelling the monsters, Ethan arrived here on horseback as soon as possible. His Royal Highness the Prince. I'm very sorry, it seems like I arrived late. Ethan did not scold Lucas. He walked forward step by step, under the gaze of all the soldiers. At this moment, Dennis is treating Margrave's injuries in the crowd. Ethan saw himself being watched. Dennis shook his head. Ethan immediately took out the advanced potion he got from the reward chest. Maybe this could help. Take it back. Using that probably won't heal my injury. It will just hurt a lot. Margrave single-handedly defended against the attacking Sewer Rat Legion. Ethan also wants to use high-level potions to help Margrave recover. Using that probably won't heal my injury. It will only increase my pain. Help me up. I can't see anything. Has the battle ended? Margrave, you have made great contributions. Did they not break through the city walls? Even though they broke through, we did not let a single monster in. The people in the city are also safe and sound. That's good. Don't look so lifeless like that. This is the front line of monster. It's only natural for someone to die. It's just my turn. Do not feel sad for the loss of one person. Instead, feel happy for the victory and survival. This is a city built upon a graveyard, although it is derogatorily named due to the large number of casualties. But even on top of a graveyard, there is still meaning in people's lives. Being solely focused on mourning due to sadness will bring the city to a standstill. While holding a funeral is good, it is also important to let everyone feel the corresponding joy. I will definitely keep that in mind, Lord Margrave. Hope is the best motivation for people to keep living. So if anyone is to die, it should be me, someone who has no hope to lose. Please promise me one last thing, His Royal Highness the Prince. You name it, Margrave. As long as it is within my ability, I will definitely do my best. If one day, my daughter comes here, please help me tell her, saying, Dad is sorry for what happened. Hope you can live freely, and according to your own desires. I'm sorry, my wife. As a knight, I ended up not being able to protect anything in the end. I couldn't protect the orchard and you. Also our daughter. No, you did. Margrave, you saved the world. Not just this time. You have been saving the world all your life. Saved everyone above the front line. This world owes you a lot. But Margrave did not reply. He just kept apologizing. Ethan knew Margrave could no longer hear him. Just then, Ethan remembered. Margrave had given him a bag of dried fruit. He didn't understand before why Margrave kept holding on to these dried fruits, even though he himself didn't find them tasty. Maybe it was all for this moment. These grapes are really sweet. And with a smile, Margrave stopped breathing. A heavy tolling of bells sounded in the distance. It signaled that the invasion of monsters had ended, the bell to lift the evacuation order. Ethan cannot understand the man who lost everything to protect the city. The man who voluntarily gave up his family business out of extreme hatred for the city. Why did he come back at the last moment, and what did he sacrifice for? What is it that the front line has that could devour someone's entire life? It's so heavy. The position of the Margrave in this city. It's truly so heavy. The sound of the bell keeps echoing in the air. This tough day has finally come to an end. Shire Chris became the only hero character to die in this scene. When Ethan returned to the mansion, it was already evening. "My lord, you're finally back. Did you get hurt? I have been very worried about you." Ethan ignored Ide's praise, and instead grabbed his collar directly. Ide had not reacted yet, and was pressed against the wall by Ethan. The first thing a man does after winning a battle is not to celebrate. "Come clean with me, you damn supervisor." The current situation is clearly very strange. What on earth is going on with this insane difficulty level? The tutorial scene was originally that kind of place, so I didn't pay attention. Although Ghost Knight appeared in Scene 1, I still took it as my own misfortune. I didn't care about it. But in Scene 2, an NPC that gives orders to monsters appeared. What exactly did you do? Will something strange happen in the next scene again? You clearly said you wanted to help me. Why are you hiding this matter? Explain it to me clearly. Lord, you may not believe what I say, but I am helping you in my own way. Stop talking nonsense. Will helping me lead to this kind of thing happening, and you don't tell me anything? The necklace you obtained in the scene tutorial. As long as you pass Scene 3, its skill will be unlocked. Once that skill is unlocked, you will be able to understand all the points that are puzzling you now. As long as you go through another scene, you will understand why this happened. I hope my lord can bear it. I sincerely pray that you can continue to fight with the same determination after knowing the truth of this crazy world. Because at that time, there will really be no escape. Escape from what? Why should I escape? Escape from the world itself. But I didn't tell Ethan. On that day, a little girl set foot on the way back home. 3 days had passed since Scene 2 ended. Half-mast flags fluttered in the city, as if the air was heavy, yet Crossroad remained the same as usual. They were busy preparing for the next defensive battle. After the day's itinerary ended, Ethan boarded the carriage back to the mansion. There are 12 days until the next scene. The repair of the city wall is also going smoothly. Ethan saw a strange figure at the gate of the mansion. He was about to alert Lucas, but the person had already approached the window of the carriage. Lord Ethan, as a nobleman, was attacked at the gate of his own mansion. Fortunately, Ethan was not hit by the girl's attack. However, the girl actually just wanted to puncture the wheels of the carriage. After the attack, Lucas got out of the car immediately to check on Ethan's condition. After confirming that Ethan was unharmed, he immediately took out his sword and looked towards the attacker. But neither of them expected that the one attacking them was actually a child. What a mischievous little rascal. You must not underestimate her just because she is just a little rascal. She should be a trained combatant. Look at that little rascal's clothes. That is the uniform of the Imperial Royal Academy. What are the students of the Academy doing here? Hurry up and report your names. That's the question I should be asking, right? Uncles. This is the house I used to live in. But coming back for a rare visit, I found it occupied by a group of unfamiliar soldiers. I don't know if those people are bandits, who have been causing trouble since the old days, or the forces of a duke from an invading enemy country. There is too little intelligence. Just as I hesitated, I happened to see the uncles driving a carriage over, so I intercepted you. the lord of the city encountered an attack at his own doorstep. And the attackers were the ones who ambushed him. Turns out it was just a little brat. Because the mansion was the house she once lived in. And now it is occupied by a group of strangers. Ethan happened to pass by, so she reached out to stop him. Why didn't you just ask directly? Why did you have to damage the carriage? That's how we were taught at school. We are told to suppress first whenever there is suspicion of an enemy. I didn't intend to damage the carriage to this extent. I'm really sorry about that. On second thought, who are you guys? Why are you occupying someone else's house at will? I will decide whether to teach you a lesson based on your answer. What nonsense are you talking about, you little brat? This is the residence of Lord Crossroad. Of course, it belongs to Lord Crossroad. So what does that mean? Clearly, my father is the lord here. The moment they heard this, Ethan and Lucas both fell silent. On the third day after Margaret passed away, her daughter returned. That's right. You are Bunny Chris. Uncle, do you know me? I often hear your father mention you. In the moment when he locked eyes with her, Ethan deeply felt that this girl is Margaret's daughter. Those green eyes are very similar to her father's. But Ethan clearly remembers. The bunny in the game is a tall and slender beauty. So he doesn't understand why Bunny is so short. How can you comment on someone's appearance like that in person? Saying that kind of thing is very rude. Ethan just noticed. Bunny is already shaking with anger. You actually mock someone's physical flaws in person. It seems like you have many lives. No, I only have one. So you should cherish life even more. I have changed my mind. I just wanted to inquire about the situation earlier. But now I am getting serious. Just as the words fell, Bunny charged towards Ethan. Seeing this familiar posture, Ethan was certain she must be Margaret's daughter. The next second, Bunny's attack was blocked by Lucas with his sword. Quickly put down your gun. The person in front of you is the third prince of the empire. You not only illegally occupy other people's houses, but now also falsely claim to be part of the royal family. When Lucas wasn't paying attention, Bunny kicked the sword out of his hand. The third prince is a well-known playboy. How could he possibly come to such a remote and impoverished place? You can tell by Lucas's gaze. He has already become serious. Ethan didn't expect things to turn out like this. This uncle's skills are pretty good. Of course. Bunny, Mississippi. I am still your senior in the college. I am the runner-up of the 369th session of the Imperial Royal Academy. Lucas. Also, Ethan, His Royal Highness the Prince is behind me. He is also an alumnus of your academy. He is among the students of the 369th class. But he is a legend among legends. Ethan is very curious. Why does the owner of this body still have such a story? Originally, Ethan was a prince. But he swore to become the bottom student of the Imperial Royal Academy. You even dare to claim to be my school senior now. Do you think I cannot distinguish a school senior, you fools? But since you want to play, then I'll accompany you to the end. The 375th chief graduate who graduated early. Bunny Chris. I say hello to the two senior brothers of the 369th cohort. On the third day after Margrave's death, his daughter came back. Bunny did not know that Margrave was no longer the lord here. She attacked the carriage because Ethan had taken over her home. That's it. Bunny and Lucas were fighting each other. And judging by their appearance, both of them were serious. Perhaps because they are both SSRs. So the battle between the two of them was very intense. While this kind of battle has broadened Ethan's horizons, if it continues, someone will definitely get hurt. Almost enough. It seems there is a misunderstanding. Let's have a good chat to clear up the misunderstanding next. But the two knights were completely immersed in the battle. No one paid any attention to Ethan's words. Ethan had no choice but to rely on the lucky glove to stop this meaningless battle. Not much damage needs to be inflicted. Just need to help both people calm down. With such thoughts in mind, Ethan punched Bunny's shield. The lucky glove dealt 777 points of damage. Ethan didn't expect to draw this unexpected number at this time. Bunny discovered that colorful light appeared on her shield. The next second, this light covered the entire Lord's mansion. And Ethan, who threw this punch, was also scared for a while. He didn't understand. Why of all times did he happen to be so lucky to win the grand prize? Your Highness, your fist strength was quite impressive just now. How did you manage to do that? But anyway, Bunny is still just a child. How can you be so cruel to a child like that? Lucas, you say she probably hasn't run out of breath yet. Bunny still remembers. When I was a child, every time there was a monster invasion in the city, her mother would always go to her room to accompany her. Mom is worried that you are afraid of monsters. Mom only came to comfort you. Although Mom says that every time, Bunny knows. It is Mom who is actually afraid of monsters. Mom, you are really something. Dad will defeat all the monsters. But Bunny later found out. Mom is not afraid of monsters, but of losing Dad. And one day, the daughter will also face the fate of going to the dangerous front lines to fight. And so the mother's figure vanished in front of Bunny. The dream is over. The surrounding is filled with the extremely familiar scent to her. Turns out Bunny has returned to her own room. With a knock on the door, Bunny's room door was opened. After hearing someone come in, she immediately covered herself with a blanket. Ethan walked straight over and sat on the chair next to Bunny's bed. We haven't seen each other for 3 years. Have you been doing well during this time? It's obvious even without asking. You love hunting monsters so much. You must be having a great time every day. In fact, Bunny didn't want to say those words. But when she thought of her father, the words just came out involuntarily. I'm sorry. Bunny, I am not your father. Bunny just realized this. Bandages are wrapped around himself, and his weapon has been taken away. I really did go too hard yesterday. So it was you. The uncle from yesterday. You look frail and delicate. But turns out to be the uncle who unleashed the crazy punches. No matter what, let me introduce myself again. I am the third prince of the empire, and the current lord of Crossroad, Ethan Ebable. Clearly, he is a bandit who seized the lord's mansion. He claimed to be the lord here, and even disguised himself as the third prince of the empire. I'm not a 3-year-old child. Why are you still talking nonsense there? If you were the prince, what country's queen am I? Ethan didn't say anything. He just lightly took out his token. It is the royal token of the Empire of Ebable. It's actually real. I'm a fan of His Royal Highness the Prince. Can you help me get an autograph? Ethan seems a bit helpless. But he still did as Bunny said. Because I am the most famous playboy in the Empire. Is that why you became my fan? You don't know? You are the most unruly playboy in the whole Empire. I have always wanted to rebel against my father. I not only cause trouble, but also act recklessly. I even bring shame to the family's reputation. So I ran away from home and got accepted into the Royal Academy that my dad hates the most. But don't mention rebellion. I was even forced to become a model student there. Ethan is well aware that Bunny is not just a model student. She completed a 6-year program in just 3 years and graduated early as the top graduate. She is a genius who will be remembered in the history of the school. My only act of rebellion was just not contacting my dad for 3 years. It's actually quite a cute form of rebellion. But during that time, I heard the legend about you that my dad is the Imperial Majesty, the Emperor. Yet you dared to annoy him every day. And the mischiefs you caused every week were completely different. Not only did you make a fountain out of gold. I heard that the Emperor was so angry with you that he almost had a stroke. You are really amazing. His Royal Highness the Prince, you are my role model. Ethan didn't expect that. Clearly living a life like garbage can still become someone's role model. But then again, His Royal Highness the Prince. Where is the old man in our house anyway? I plan to deal with him piece by piece during this time, using the law of filial piety derived from His Royal Highness the Prince to deal with him. Could he have known in advance and hid himself away? Bunny, you didn't come back only after receiving the news. What news? I just came back home after graduating. Upon hearing Bunny's words, Ethan couldn't help but clench his fists. Has something happened here to His Royal Highness the Prince? I am sorry to tell you in this way, Miss Bunny. Your father's Shire Chris Margrave has passed away. He sacrificed his own life in a battle with a monster a few days ago, saving all the people in the city. His sacrifice is extremely honorable. I have recorded your father's achievements word for word and reported them to the royal family. Because of his many contributions over the years, he should be able to receive the Royal Martial Merit Medal. The funeral will be held in 3 days. I plan to conduct it with the highest level of respect. Oh, I see. I was planning to be an unfilial daughter starting from now. I didn't expect that he had already run away. He always said he would die on the battlefield when dealing with monsters. I didn't expect him to go like that for real. I haven't finished complaining yet, but he has already left. The girl, in order to become the disgraceful daughter that tarnishes the family's reputation, had already prepared numerous methods to rebel against her own father. But what awaited her was the news of her father's death on the battlefield. I haven't even finished complaining, and he's already gone like this. Sorry, because I am the current lord. The command of the front line is also in my hands. Your father's sacrifice was my responsibility. So blame me if you must. Uncle, are you really Ethan, His Royal Highness the Prince? I heard about His Royal Highness the Prince before. He is someone who only cares about himself and disregards the feelings of those around him. A reckless and unrestrained playboy. Please don't always talk about me being a playboy. There will be attendants waiting at the door. Feel free to instruct the attendants if you need anything. Just as Ethan was about to leave, Bunny called out to him again. I'm really sorry about what happened yesterday. The carriage and everything. Understood. You take a good rest first. And that's it. In the room, there was only Bunny left. Your Highness Ethan, you should first know Miss Bunny's age. She is still a student, and 2 years younger than Dennis. And the earliest time she appears in the game is in the second half of the second year. But due to various events that happen in this game, she appears earlier than usual. I see. No wonder Bunny looks different from how she appears in the game. As a tank class, Bunny's agility is unbelievably high. Just these stats alone are enough to justify her title as the strongest tank. However, at this time, Ethan discovered a strange characteristic. It turns out that because Bunny is still young, there may be small or large mistakes on the battlefield. It seems that appearing on the scene too early is not entirely a good thing. But Bunny is still a child after all. At her age, she shouldn't be on this battlefield at all. She should be playing around with friends, like a normal person. Suddenly, a sharp pain struck Ethan's brain. He remembered a familiar figure. My lord, do you want to invite Bunny to join the team? Its words were meant to bring Ethan back to reality. But Ethan did not respond to him.